I'm glad that some of you guys stuck around from Beyond the Black Rims and from our Q&A and stuff. Again, I am MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And we have with us Roger of Tainted Reality. Thank you, Roger.
Hey, what's up?
Which really, this is all your bad idea.
Yeah, well, the big reason why I proposed this idea is because that guy sitting right next to you, he's been going on about it for years now.
Yeah?
And I want him to be unfiltered. I want him to be unedited. I want him in front of a live audience talking about this movie that you have been hyping up for literally years now. And I'm going to be honest, I'm selfish. I want to be a part of it.
That's fine.
That's understandable.
I think it'll be fun, because we did record our own vlog about this, and it was almost ready to go live, but the upload of it was conflicting with our stream, so I'm going to have to just do that later. But that's okay. I think this is going to have a different atmosphere.
No, this is going to have a completely different atmosphere to it, because I was a lot more, I guess, technical and clinical in our vlog, which will get out probably within the next day or so. Mm-hmm. But for this, it's not that I will be any less technical. I'll just be a little bit more off the cuff, shall we say.
This is raw emotion right here.
So actually, yeah, so we're talking about Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, which we have been going on for years calling it hashtag not quite Justice League. Which I think is exactly what this movie was.
It's several not quites. Like let's keep it up.
And actually,
keep it real
before
here.
we get to the real, like, how much we did not like, can I please ask you what you did like? Because I feel like there's so few of those things in comparison to how many things we actually did like.
I like at the core Ben Affleck's performance. Most of the problems I have, I figured it was going to be like this, so I'll start off by saying that. I do not think the problems with Batman stem from Ben Affleck's performance. I again think it's not his fault that he got stuck with a crap script.
Yeah, I think I agree with that.
It's so sad that it happened to him again.
No, because, like, have you seen... There's this video going around now where it's an interview between Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and the interviewer...
Sad Affleck!
Yeah, Sad Affleck. You know, he's just... You see him there having the Vietnam flashback to Daredevil, like...
No, it's so sad how similar it is, because just like this, you have to see the extended R-rated cut that's eventually coming out on home video to get the whole thing, and... You're asking me about positives, I'm already getting angry.
Like, twice! That happened to this bro twice now! Can Ben Affleck catch a break? Like, I don't think I need to be saying that, but, like, oh, come on, man. Like, he wasn't a terrible Daredevil. I mean, admittedly, Charlie Cox is knocking it out of the park, but that's because he's working with a different script and a different cast, a whole different realm there. But here, it's like, Ben in specific, like, he wants to get in, he wanted to be Daredevil because... He thought he could never be Batman. He eventually gets to be Batman, and, like, guess what? The curse followed you. It's just now, Mark Steven Johnson changed his name legally to Zack Snyder, and now you're dealing with the same crap.
Before we really get steamrolling into this, because we are going to be steamrolling into this. Are we having an open chat room tonight? Like, are we going to be responding to the chat room?
I think so. I've got the chat open, and I'm paying attention to it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because, I was telling them, I don't think the audience heard, but I'm actually going to be pacing around my room a lot, so I might not be paying attention to the chat room, but if anybody in the chat room has anything that's response-worthy or worth reading, if that could happen, that would be cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be sure to keep you up on that.
Yeah, and I guess just to speak directly to the audience, guys, here it is. You finally get to hear Josh do his thing. So if I were you guys, hit up your Facebooks, your Tumblrs, your Twitters, and let everybody know that tonight these guys are live with their actual core emotional response to Batman v Superman. This should be a spectacle for everybody. Okay. Be here live for it to interact with us.
Okay, this is a spectacle you actually feel like you should have paid for, as opposed to whatever the hell we watched last night. Let's start with that.
Alright, so Josh, did you have any more positives before I go into my stuff?
Biggest positive, like, there was so much little, like, I'll start on this and then we'll get into the rest. Mm-hmm. the things I had the least amount of problems with were the fact that, yes, I liked the core of Ben Affleck's performance. Certain little, like, droppings of things throughout the whole movie where it's like, somebody on that staff somewhere read a comic book, somebody kind of had the right idea, and then whatever good is in there got suffocated. And I had to have this conversation with myself today at work, like, what am I doing? I do not want to be talking to people and giving them an idea of this movie that isn't real. I should not, and I implore other people listening, do not defend a movie you didn't watch.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much you love Batman, no matter how much you love Wonder Woman, no matter how much you love Superman, you can't lie to yourself beyond a certain point that what you expected was not what they showed on screen.
Wonder Woman shows up approximately the same amount of time as 2014 Godzilla does.
Like 8 minutes on screen out of a 2.5-hour movie?
Yeah. Same amount of time.
Well, I can defend that because she's not a title character in this movie. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Godzilla was a bit of a title character.
Yeah.
But I can see, like, Josh, on your face, you're seeing all of these characters show up, and yeah, you're seeing reference to, like, oh, they, like, name-dropped Phantasm in a roundabout sort of manner, and you're like...
Oh, yeah, they did do that.
And you're like, oh my god, somebody somewhere thought that this was a good idea, and I'm just like, no, take it for what it is. Don't get excited because you saw a character, because that does not make the movie. Don't do that to yourself. You're hyping yourself on nothing. Don't do that.
Like, my brother and I, we have this thing between us, like, we kind of borrowed it, but we've adapted it to our own tastes. With certain things, it's like, we call it the spaghetti analogy, and it works like this. You order a plate of spaghetti. You like spaghetti, but then the spaghetti comes out to you, and it's got crap on it. And the thing about it is, if it's, like, meatball crap, it's like, well, I can at least take the meatball crap and move it off to the side, and then I can still eat some of the spaghetti. But what this movie is it's the same spaghetti analogy, but it's meat sauce, and they mixed it in with the spaghetti, and I don't really feel like I can eat any of this. I don't know if that conveys to you guys how I feel.
That's pretty disgusting, Josh.
Yeah, like the movie.
Do you have any more positives?
If I do, I don't remember them, so I guess it's time to get to the actual deconstruction. And I guess we should preface, before we get into anything else, we need to let you guys know in the audience, I think we all agreed here, we don't give a dang about this movie's safety. We're doing spoilers tonight.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually do have some positives that are a little bit separate from yours. I actually do agree with the things that you did say. I may be reading too much into this. And I don't know if anybody else caught it, but that one good time when Wonder Woman took a good punch from Doomsday, she kind of smiled about it, and I kind of took that as a little tongue-in-cheek reference to her origins.
No, that was a definite. They did that on purpose.
Yeah. I did kind of enjoy that. As lowbrow as that was, I did kind of enjoy that. And overall, I will say that I did enjoy Wonder Woman's portrayal. I thought that Wonder Woman actually walks away from this movie rather unscathed.
I think so too.
I think literally unscathed. I don't think she got hurt.
Well, I just think that, for as excited as people were to see her, like, yeah, cool, we saw her, but much like most all these other characters in the movie, Batman got the most character development, and I realize Wonder Woman is going to get her own movie, and she's really kind of just a cameo rather than a fully fleshed out character, but that's why she got away unscathed, is because she didn't get elaborated upon, and, well, yay, she was there.
And I guess the only other thing I can say, and I'll end up dissing things about it later, is that I actually do really like Amy Adams as Lois Lane, but she didn't hardly get crap to do.
Ooh, I don't know about that, but we'll get to that
again,
later.
Personal opinion, I think she's a great actress. I don't think she's bad in the role. I just think they didn't give her anything hardly to do.
I don't think she's a great Lois Lane, and I think they gave her stuff to do, but it was all really stupid stuff, so I don't agree with you there.
Okay, alright. Well, come on, out with it.
No, we're not at that part of this conversation yet.
Okay, all right. So do we want to just go into this thing?
Somewhat organized here.
So, do we just want to go into this thing? I guess
fine,
chronologically.
go.
Okay, so let's start with the opening reel for the 10 millionth time. The death
Why? What? We know! We know!
The death
we know! We
of
know
Thomas and Martha Wayne.
So we know why he's Batman. Why? Why do you need to waste our time? I don't care if it's just the opening sequence. Why? Why do we need to retread this ground again?
Like, the one thing I will give them as it's kind of the caveat there is like, yes, why are we seeing this again? But by that same token, it's like, okay, at least you're getting it out of the way up front. Like, we're presenting it. All right, you guys know we're legally bound to have to show you guys this murder again. Here you go. We're getting it out of the way now. Fine.
You know the whole reason why they did that, right? Because they had to remind the audience that Bruce Wayne's mother's name is Martha.
Yes, I get
that. That was the only reason they did that.
But then, like, we almost walked out of the theater when
we almost walked out in those first 5 minutes because it's one thing to watch the murder. I was fine with the murder, which is a weird thing to say. I was fine watching the funeral. I'm fine watching Bruce fall down a hole and find a bat cave. That stuff is all like, okay, checklist. All right, we're good. As soon as the bats surround him and start levitating him off the ground, me, Kaylin, and our friend Greg, we almost walked out of the dang theater right then.
And we realized later, of course, oh, it was a dream. But then part of me is kind of like, one, they've relied way too much on dream sequences throughout the whole movie. And two, was it really necessary to tack that on at the end? Like, I would have been okay with, oh, here's his origin. We don't need to see an additional dream of him being levitated very godlike by bats.
Yeah.
It just wasn't necessary.
I don't even get the artistic expression behind that shot. I really don't.
I get it because once Bruce is high enough above the camera, at that angle, he looks kind of like a bat. The silhouette from the bottom up, and I got that, but that's because I think I'm
stretching it though.
No, I admit to that completely. It's very stretching. It's not nearly like the Nolan-esque, the openings where they kind of make you almost see the bat symbol and then you don't.
Yeah.
See, I think
that opening title graphic to The Dark Knight is one of the most chilling opening graphics I've ever seen because there's almost no noise. It's just that blue flame, and then you just see the bat symbol just kind of coming at you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
that was really perfect.
But in comparison, I think definitely in a lot of places in this movie, I was honestly thinking, man, can y'all please get off Nolan's dick? Please! Like, I get that you like the movie. We saw the movie. We paid for that movie already. I don't want to pay for that movie. I want to pay for this movie.
Well, that kind of goes to the argument that a lot of people are having about Deadpool right now. And what people are saying is, they're worried that people are learning the wrong lessons from Deadpool.
Yes.
I feel like that is exactly the case with Nolan's Batman movies. And to me, that was the number one reason why I did not like Man of Steel, was because that kind of tone can work for Batman. Honestly, you could almost put Batman in any kind of tone, and it will work in some weird way. Superman, you can't really do that, and that is what really ruined Man of Steel for me. And if I thought that movie was dark, holy shit, this is what?
Like, I shouldn't have to tell you this, and I'll keep this as technically accurate as possible, using as many words as I need to get this across. Superman is not Batman!
Yeah. And on top of that, it's like, the darkness of The Dark Knight was not what made it awesome. It was the fact that it's probably still to this day the tightest script ever written for a comic book movie. And The Dark Knight never stopped, and that's why it made $500 million domestically.
Yes.
They are taking the wrong things from that movie, the wrong successes from that movie, and trying to juxtapose it into a place where it doesn't. It shouldn't be a factor, because okay, this is kind of more of a meta situation in terms of how the DC universe is portraying itself in the cinemas, but Superman is an icon.
Right.
Yeah.
Superman is an ideal.
Yes.
Okay, I know that there was that whole speech in Batman Begins about being an ideal and being an element.
Right.
Superman is that, to the point where you can't really, like Superman is hope. Superman is inspiration. Superman is the best that humanity can be. He is our icon. He is the ultimate American icon.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's something that Richard Donner understood to a T. And
Yes.
that's why the first two Superman movies are some of the best comic book movies ever made. And especially if you ever have a chance to see Richard Donner's cut of Superman 2. It is a fantastic film. Now, just because, I'm sorry. Just because Batman, Christopher Nolan's Batman succeeded being dark and brooding and constantly questioning humanity and morals and ethics and stuff like that, you can do that to a certain degree with Superman, but it needs to be more in a larger scale, not the small personal scale, as much as I hate to say it. Superman, like I said, he's an ideal, and okay, this is the best way for me to sum it up.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like Superman Returns, mainly because the stupid plot twist about him having a son.
I'm still down with that.
Yeah, but it understood things that are, as far as I'm concerned, are absolutely integral to the Superman mythos. One is that it had the theme song.
Yes.
And I don't care if you're trying to reboot Star Wars. You're not going to reboot Star Wars without the theme song. I really don't understand how you're going to reboot Superman without the goddamn theme song. I'm sorry. That theme song is just too perfect for the character.
That's exactly my same argument when it comes even to, say, Final Fantasy, where Final Fantasy 13 managed to not put in the themes Final Fantasy and the traditional prelude, the things that we know that all the Final Fantasies are not connected to one another, but they all have Final Fantasy and the prelude in one way or another, and Final Fantasy 13 did not do that. So your brain knows when you're trying to tell this story that it's kind of different, but you still know it. Little hints of things like, yes, you're absolutely right, musical cues.
Yes.
Tell your brain that this is the safe place, and it is still, don't worry, we're going to comfort you, this is still the thing that you know it is.
Well, see,
the way... And they were absolutely right, when they were bringing out Man of Steel and, the theme song, I don't know if you guys remember, the theme song was actually a big point of discussion. It's like, it's going to be in the movie. And they were like, no, it's not going to be in the movie. We don't feel it matches the tone of our film. Well, yeah, you were absolutely right about that, because I can't imagine a theme song that iconic, that inspirational, that uplifting, being in a dark, dreary movie like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because... like, what I'm seeing here is, and I'm kind of going back to another point, and at the same time jumping ahead to prove this point, the analogy I get with Warner Brothers and DC trying to make these movies is kind of like the movie Predator. And specifically I'm citing the scene where, they see the Predator running through the jungle, and then they use all of their weapons to try and hit the Predator. They mow down all of this area, they've wasted all these bullets, they've ruined all of this jungle, and then they realize we hit nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The way I feel about that, the way that parallels here, is that you take, Nolan's verse, you take Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and then you make Green Lantern. And Green Lantern, you screw up the basic caveat of the character, he needs to not have fear. And you make a Green Lantern who's constantly questioning himself, you ruin the character from the get-go. And you realize they learned nothing, because we go into a sequel to Man of Steel where he's doubting himself, and he's still doubting himself 18 months after the fact. They learned nothing.
In fact, I really feel like Clark Man here, because I still can't call him Superman. At no point do I actually feel like he actually has learned to care for humanity. He's just kind of going through some motions to make sure that humanity understands, no guys, I'm totally good, look at me be good. And then bad stuff happens around him, and I just don't actually see him care about people.
Yeah.
And you're getting to what was going to be my second point.
Yeah.
There is a huge caveat for me a huge aspect of the character that, for me, I feel like, I know how much they try to pull away from this in the comic books and try to give Superman more depth and such like that, but I'm sorry. Superman in the cinema has to be that ideal. He has to be that iconic American image. And this to me was another reason why I consider Superman Returns to be a far superior Superman film to this or Man of Steel, even though I had so many problems with Superman Returns, and that's this. When he saves the plane from crashing, he walks onto the plane and reminds people to buckle their safety belts.
Yes, yes.
To me, that is Superman. And on top of that, kudos to Brandon Routh, because he understood his role.
Yes.
He needed to be Christopher Reeve playing Superman, because goddamn it, Christopher Reeve is Superman.
Yes, absolutely. No argument there. But see, that's the whole thing that I realize, again, where you realize they learned nothing and they're just repeating what they think succeeded in the other movies. They think Batman's moody and doubts himself, so Green Lantern has to do it, Superman has to do it. And you realize...
No, but that's the thing, that's the reason why these two characters work off of each other, is because there is that contrast.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And there was no contrast in this.
No, that's the thing. They're the same character almost in that respect. And Snyder didn't realize that they needed to be their own separate people. If you're giving him the darker palette, the darker conversations, the darker doubt, then what's gonna distinguish between him and Batman? What, that his face is covered up and he wears a bigger belt? Like, that's not enough. And I don't think people are going to be very fooled by it after this weekend, now that they're having to see it. But the other thing I was going to bring up, and Roger, you can probably talk about this too, is that we know now, meta, retrospect, however you want to look at it, that a big chunk of what made the framework of this movie was the outcry after the end of Man of Steel, the assault on Metropolis. Yeah. Now,
it was almost comical how much they blatantly responded to that, but you go ahead and continue.
No, here's the thing. Everybody's going to talk about how that plays into the last scene, but really the bigger problem is with Batman as a response to that, and I'll explain why. Because we make such a big deal about Superman not having to care about collateral damage in Man of Steel. You can even juxtapose that with Superman Returns. Even in Superman Returns, you see him actively trying to make sure nobody gets hit by debris.
Right.
Yeah.
He's doing that throughout the entire... He's not even fighting anybody in that movie, and he's straight up trying to make sure glass doesn't hit people. You take that to Man of Steel, he doesn't care. You can try and say, oh, well, he's inexperienced, he didn't know. No, a basic person with some sort of moral compass would have tried to make sure that doesn't happen.
Superman. That is instinct for Superman. Superman's instinct is to make sure not a single human hair is ever harmed in any bout he may have. He is there to save people first and foremost. And that...
We still got you?
Because the audience doesn't know this, I think you guys know this. Man of Steel is the only movie I've ever walked out on in my life.
Oh,
and
wow.
I walked out the second Superman zapped Zod's neck. I couldn't take it anymore because it was just such a betrayal of the character, and it was just a culmination. Like, that was the climax of my dissatisfaction with the movie, because I had so much hatred for Pa Kent in that movie. I had so much hatred for the climax where Superman doesn't even try. He's knocking down all these buildings in this fight without seeing anybody. A building falling over. I'm sorry, but one of the most Superman things he could have done right there is he catches the building and he gently lets it down so that it doesn't crash to the ground.
Yes.
And then, just like Superman, Zod realizes that Superman's true weakness is his compassion. And it just boggles my mind. And I'm with you 100% on this, Josh, but there's no love for Superman here.
Well, no, I think, but to continue that point, we made so much of a focus on Superman not caring about collateral damage, and they're trying to show that he's really sorry about that, but still screws up at it in this movie, that I think, and I honestly think this is the case, Snyder was hoping we'd give a pass to Batman when Batman's whole thing is, one, I don't use guns, two, I'm actually trying to save lives, I'm not the Punisher, because that's a whole nother character there, Because you realize, we were there counting, at least 8 people die by his hands.
Some people count
20.
more.
I counted 20.
Okay, I was trying to be liberal with that. I'll admit it could be higher. But blatantly, when he's driving the Batmobile and doesn't mind when the car in front of him, which has at least 3 people, goes up in flames because he rolled right through it, that he doesn't care that he did that, or if he blatantly takes a knife and stabs somebody through the heart, that is where I have to stop and say, no, this, I know Affleck didn't have anything to do with that. Snyder, this is on you.
Well, no, I think what also goes hand in hand with that is that Bruce has seen how much damage has happened in Metropolis, how much collateral damage, how many people probably died there, and then it looks like at the beginning of it, oh, well, this is going to strengthen Batman's resolve to not do the same thing as Superman.
And then he just goes and does it.
Do we want to open this can of worms right now? Because we're getting into the biggest fucking problem I have with this fucking piece of shit.
Oh, we can go. We can go.
Whatever.
You want to go? Let's go.
Oh. I see Batman or Superman as an icon. I see him as basically our modern mythology. You know, everybody says that, comic books are our modern mythology. Well, Superman is our Zeus. Superman is our Odin.
Right.
And I'm going to make this analogy because, goddamn it, the first Superman movie did. Superman's our Jesus Christ. Okay?
Right.
And he is our ideal. But that's great. That's the ideal. But I have a personal connection to Batman. Mm-hmm. Batman was my first superhero. Batman was the superhero I grew up on, and he was the one that I attached to the most. Once I got to an age where I realized, wait a minute, Batman is one of us. He doesn't have any superhero or superpowers or anything like that. You know, and I remember when I finally made that realization to myself when I was like really, really young. I'm like, wow, that is more incredible that he's able to do all this stuff and he's just a regular person. Mm-hmm. And that started a lifelong, not obsession, but devotion to Batman. Batman is my favorite superhero, hands down, ever. And I think it's the same for you too. My high watermark for Batman is the animated series.
Yes. Yeah, and
for
certain Mask of the Phantasm for me, absolutely.
To me, Mask of the Phantasm is just an extension of the animated series, but that is praise. That is praise.
And to put that in proper context, especially in the framework of this, what we're talking about, Mask of the Phantasm is an example of how you pull from Frank Miller properly, but still tell the story true to the character.
Yes.
Let's get that right.
So, of course, it was echoed in Nolan's movies, because I do also hold The Dark Knight in the same esteem, because I thought The Dark Knight just did it so perfectly. But Batman doesn't use guns. Batman doesn't kill.
Right.
I have seen different liberties taken on the whole Batman does or doesn't kill thing before, but in this scenario, I just feel like with all the things he's shown about what he thinks Superman is, he should be even more strengthened and resolved to not be like Superman.
And that's the thing, is that him just recklessly blowing through bad guys, not even indiscriminately, not caring if they survive or not, completely breaks the moral backbone of this movie and any reason why Superman and Batman should fight. Because not only is this an absolute betrayal of the Batman character and mythos, but it completely makes the reasoning for Batman towards Superman completely invalid.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because they did a terrible job setting up Batman's motivations for this. I'm sorry. They did an absolute horrific job setting up why Batman should be so angry at Superman to the point where he wants to kill him. Because you can say, there's that chance. Okay, there's that 1% chance. 1% chance. Okay, I have a problem with that because anybody, especially somebody as smart as Bruce Wayne, anybody could take a look at Superman's actions and realize that the most that you have to worry about right now is Collateral
Collateral damage, yeah.
Thing you need to worry about. Because at no point in either Man of Steel or the events that theoretically took place between Batman v Superman, whatever, and Man of Steel, at no point did Superman ever show any malicious intent to do any harm whatsoever. And that should have helped Batman come to a realization that, okay, he needs me in check, but not I need to murder him.
Yeah.
Can I also just sort of add on that I feel like Batman is the worst detective I have ever seen him be in this movie, because like he's the worst.
I'm gonna let you take this tangent for a bit because I have my problems with this too, but you go ahead.
Well, yeah, because he's the worst detective and he's the worst ninja, because as a detective, I feel like maybe he should have known sooner that Superman was Clark, because certainly in Man of Steel, everyone was just throwing Clark's name around. He should have probably known ahead of time that Clark's mom's name was also Martha. This should not have been a surprise to him. Or how about the time where he goes down into Lex's party and starts trying to hack his computers, and then, what's her name comes
Mercy.
in? Mercy comes in and is like, so what are you doing down here? And he's like, oh, I just, I was having trouble finding the bathroom, and like she let him go? And I'm like, Batman, that is the worst excuse I could possibly have imagined for somebody who's supposed to be a detective and a ninja. Give me a break.
Well, it's the same thing where you're trying to make conceits in one area and you think you'll get away with not making those conceits in other areas. Because like you're saying, like I was just saying earlier, we're so worried about Superman's collateral damage and focused on how he deals with it, they think we're not going to notice what happens with Batman. Same thing with his detective skills. We see him have open files on Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman, but we only see him have pictures of Superman and not a file on him. You know, that's not a very Batman thing to do. He should have the biggest file on him.
Those files were Lex's files.
Yeah, so he didn't even get those files himself.
Yeah, so what's up with that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not him doing his own homework.
Not only that, but we're probably going to get to this later. We're probably going to circle around to this later, but the editing in this movie was just fucking horrendous.
Oh, no. This is a terrible film. It's speaking from a strictly cinematic point of view. This is a god-awful film.
Well, for one, they tried
Well, they jump from point to point without giving you almost any point of connection. And on top of that, because you know that there's a half hour to 45 minutes missing out of this movie, you're getting Cliff Notes the entire time. It's like watching Sailor Moon Crystal, for God's sake.
Yeah, see, this was a huge complaint I had because, I have read many comics of each of these characters, but not as many as some of the other people that I've been talking to, so sometimes I can only speak about it on a cinematic level, right? I hated that we're cutting to something new every 2 to 3 minutes, and it seems really jarring, probably because, we're not seeing the entire movie, and then 2, we've got so much crap shoved in there that we can't possibly address in a 2.5 hour time frame that I have no idea what's going on. The beginning, there's all of this on-screen text telling us where we are, what's going on, and at first that was annoying, and I thought it was going to do that throughout the whole movie. Then suddenly it stops doing that, it tells us 18 months have passed. Then later on, there's an event where Superman has to go save a person in a building on fire during Day of the Dead, which means that it must be November 1st. And then after that, we have no frame of reference for how much time passes. We know that Superman goes and climbs a mountain, I guess. And
maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't feel like he did.
Well, I don't see that. We don't know because it was edited so badly that we don't know whether that was an actual sequence or a dream sequence. But he's presumably gone for a really long period of time.
A noticeable period of time.
Because he's gone long enough for him to come back and save Lois, and Lois is like, "Oh my God, you came back!" And I'm like, "You were missing? How long were you missing?"
I'm sorry. I gotta interject before I forget.
Okay.
Okay, was I the only one who... Okay, first of all, if you know the answer, don't jump to the conclusion, because I kind of want to set this up for myself.
Okay.
But was I the only one in the beginning, in the Africa scene, when the guy with the camera got his camera smashed and shot in the head, was I the only one thinking that was Jimmy Olsen for a split second?
I didn't think about it at the time.
I didn't think about it at the time either.
Guess what? He was!
He was Jimmy,
Released
Snyder.
today that was Jimmy fucking Olsen! They killed Jimmy fucking Olsen!
Which is so weird because...
Like, why would you admit to that after the fact?
They killed Jimmy fucking Olsen!
it's so weird, too, because I thought we had a Jimmy Olsen in the last movie, but it was a woman, but now you're saying there was a real Jimmy Olsen, and now he's dead, but you have to tell us that later on in a press release interview? Why?
Yeah, like, that information, like, he'll officially get name dropped. Like, Snyder confirmed that on the Blu-ray release for the extended cut, but it's like, you were better off letting us think that was just some schmo who got offed in the head, but you have to go and tell us that, one, you gender flipped Jimmy, and then you brought in real Jimmy just to off him? Why would you do that?
Without even dropping his name so you didn't even know it was him for any kind of emotional weight to hit you.
Not even for an Easter egg weight.
Oh, man.
That to me just show that was when I read that this afternoon. That just perfectly explained the ineptitude of this movie.
Oh yeah. And then
Because,
on top,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kayla. I'm going to let you get back to this in a moment, but I had to bring it up before I forgot. Because you blink your eyes and you miss Jimmy Olsen. And not only do you miss Jimmy Olsen in this movie, you miss his only moment in the entire fucking DC cinematic universe. Jimmy Olsen has 1 minute of screen time before he is shot in the head without his name even being mentioned. That is fucking ineptitude.
Yep. I'm right there with you.
Really, that was all I had to say about the cinematic, how poorly edited it was put together. But actually, if we can go back to that scene in the desert real quick, because that's another part. Maybe I can tie that into how cinematically bad it is.
Yeah.
Because after that, like we're assumed that this is some kind of terrorist camp or something.
Of some kind,
of
yeah.
some kind, where we don't actually see what the struggle is. We're just told that this guy is a bad guy, and we're supposed to come in there and interview / kill him, and otherwise we don't actually see how bad it is. But in the following scene, we see this Senate hearing where this lady is talking about how bad it was in her village and stuff, but we never saw any of it, and I was like, what is she talking about? Is this the same event? Is this a different event? Is this a different place? I don't know where she came from. I don't know how much time has passed. How did she get to America? Why is she here? What is this?
And then again, like, I'm trying to figure out, based on what they did or didn't show in that scene, because we're led to believe by the editing, or lack thereof, that somehow when Superman goes to save Lois there in that village or whatever, that he's being blamed for deaths in that village, and I'm trying to figure out when did those deaths happen, because I could only draw one of two things out of that. Either one, when he smashes that guy through 3 walls, that maybe there were people on the other side of those walls that he accidentally killed, and I don't know if that's what happened and that's what they're mad at. Or the only other logical thing that you can draw from that is that they're blaming him for the deaths of the people that got offed by the people Lex had there.
But they were shot with bullets!
And how are you going to blame Superman for people that are dead by bullets?
I don't understand.
Like, we're clear that he shoots heat vision, right? We're clear that he's super strong. We're also clear that he doesn't carry a gun, right? So, like, why are you mad at him again here?
Well, there's a reason why this currently holds a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Like, once I saw, because it wasn't even just a trickle down from like Tuesday on, it was a straight up deluge of bad reviews coming in, like a flood over the African plains. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen anything like this since Avatar.
Fantastic Four.
Well, specifically since The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Because you remember that night we were on the internet together looking at the reviews come in like a flood of, don't go see this movie. And then it's the same thing over here where people are like, it's not good. It's exactly as bad as you think it is. And it's the thing, like, I thank the reviews, because then that allowed me to drop my expectations low enough to where I could be like, alright, I can swim through this. Yeah,
So,
I know I'm about to be stepping
I
into
am looking
stuff.
at the chat room right now, and somebody brought up the question, why does this movie have a 74% from audiences? Transformers effect. That's the only thing I could chalk it up to, is Transformers effect.
People like big, shiny explosions.
Which is weird, because, honestly, the first hour and 45 minutes of this movie, there's not too much of it. There's not too much action in this movie at all. I mean, the actual fight between Batman and Superman movie. It was a bad fight, and on top of that, it's the namesake of the movie. It's only 5 minutes long.
No. It was only like 3.5. It was less than that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I gave it too much credit.
Well, no, because like I was talking to Jay about this, and he's watching it right now, and I pray for his soul. But
he should be watching us, not this.
Yeah.
Not this movie.
No, but like I was trying to talk to him about it, and he tries asking me a question that I didn't really think about. He's like, "So what are the set pieces in the first act or two?" And I'm like,
Set pieces. Yeah, set pieces.
No, I'm like, I wanted to say like, well, the closest thing you have to a set piece is the quote-unquote Batmobile chase sequence, but that's not a set piece.
No, it's not.
It's just a really short a short chase, and then Superman stops it. And then it doesn't go anywhere, so that's not a set piece. The only set piece, you have to wait about 2 hours to get to the fight that only lasts maybe 4 minutes. And even then, he was asking me, because he didn't care about spoilers, so dude, tell me who, like, I've been hearing the hype, I want to hear it from you, who won the fight? And I'm telling him, well, Batman won by decision, and he just lost his stuff. Because if you were looking at it from a technical aspect, yeah, Superman throws Batman to and fro for a couple of minutes, but Batman got in 2 kryptonite grenades, 1 cut to the cheek, the sonic attacks, and then the guns. Like, he had him from a perspective of prep. But that only works because of the framework that Superman has no idea kryptonite exists, and that in this small macrocosm is the only reason Batman would win that fight. But even then, that's looking at it from the aspect of a comic book nerd, and not this movie where it doesn't mean dick! Where it means dick, that's what I mean.
Because we have seen movies before,
yes,
we blatantly know that neither one of them can actually physically win because they have to team up in order to fight something else bigger than them. And so, like, I went into it knowing that nobody was going to be the winner, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Well, we might be going off on a different topic here. This is another kind of more meta thing. But you shouldn't have had to know that. You shouldn't have had to know that. And I'm sick of trailers giving away everything.
Yes.
No, the trailers absolutely give away everything.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There's only one thing that they don't give away, and quite honestly, if you know the Doomsday story, there is no spoiler. There's no spoiler. But the thing that bothers me is that I think almost everybody in the chat room, I know the 3 of us are, we're looking to Civil War to just wipe this taste out of our mouth.
I agree, absolutely.
That is going to be the superhero crossover. That is going to be that emotional roller coaster that we needed to be. I mean, whose heart didn't stop in that trailer when Captain America says, "I'm sorry, Tony, he's my friend," and Tony says, "So was I."
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's weight to those characters.
Because they actually spent
time. There was nothing like that.
Because they spent time in the Marvel movies.
Nothing.
In the Marvel movies, they've spent all this time carefully crafting and building up to all of these really emotional events so that everybody watching Civil War here in a few more weeks is going to really feel the weight of everything because they already know and understand all of these characters and their relationships with one another. But it was clear that Warner Brothers wanted to take a shortcut, and it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, because you look at it,
Josh, and now I want to take it back for a second.
Yeah, because you look at it and just listen to the hype surrounding both of these movies leading in. Leading into this, everybody was saying the same things, and some people were trying to convince them, "You're wrong, you don't know anything." But the reviews were coming in early. Hot mess. Too overcrowded. Too much spectacle. Not enough heart. Everything I'm hearing about Civil War, it's going to be a masterpiece. It's the last act of the movie is an emotional horror movie. Like, you will need tissues. And I'm like, well, that's the kind of movie I want to watch. Mm-hmm. Because I know there's going to be spectacle, but there's weight on it. Whereas here, once we get to the third act, like, we both agreed on this, there was not a single, from the Batman-Superman fight all the way to the end, there's not a single moment in that entire thing, even with Wonder Woman showing up, where I reacted at all. There wasn't a single point where I went, ooh, to even a punch. Not a single bit.
Okay, now I want to digress a moment because I'm trying to pick apart movie trailers everything you said was valid. I'm not trying to devalue it by going back to this, but basically the point I'm trying to make is, could you imagine your perspective of this movie if you didn't know Doomsday was going to be in it? Because then I'm going to tell you right now, you would have had a reaction once you realized Doomsday was coming in during the course of the movie rather than having it ruined for you in a fucking trailer. Whether that emotional reaction was going to be positive or negative, that's up for debate. But you would have had a strong reaction when you realized Doomsday was in this movie.
Yeah, I can agree with that, yeah.
So, I actually am going to say that Civil War kind of made the same mistake, could you imagine going into Civil War and all these heroes are fighting on the tarmac, and then all of a sudden you hear Tony say, "All right, enough is enough. On the roofs!" And then that is the first time you see Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe rather than this trailer. Could you imagine the reaction in that theater if there was no giveaway in the trailer that Spider-Man was going to be... And rumors aside, because there's all kinds of rumors going on about this movie that luckily they're not giving away in the trailers.
Yeah.
But could you imagine seeing that fight, not knowing Spider-Man was going to be in the movie, and all of a sudden you hear Tony shout that, and you see that web. You can hear it. You can hear it right now in the theater. You can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, it was the
trailers give away far too much. Seriously, Disney, you already made your money on Civil War. You've already made it. You're guaranteed $400 million at the domestic box office and probably $1 billion worldwide with Civil War. You did not have to reveal that Spider-Man was going to be in the movie. No matter how much people were like, "Oh, we know it's going to happen. We know the rumors, blah, blah, blah." It's different when you're actually sitting there in the theater and you see that web opening night, and you see him jump on top of that car, whatever it is, with the shield, and he's just like, "Hi, guys."
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
Oh my God, the screaming would be deafening.
Well, because we've already...
And all that excitement has been robbed from us because we all just saw it in a trailer.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Everybody's already had that reaction, but even then I have to hope, for their sake, that they've got most of their third act hidden, and that's where they've got something waiting for us. But at least then, they've got a track record of proving that I have something to look forward to, even with what they've already given me. Whereas, yes, comparing it back to what we're talking about here tonight, they gave away everything.
Yeah.
There was nothing I didn't see coming. Even the little bit, and I'll go ahead and talk about it right now to pull away from the ending of the movie, talking about the Flash cameo, they gave that away 2 weeks ago in an Entertainment Weekly interview. Like, that would have been nice if I didn't know that was coming, and when I got to the movie theater yesterday, I was waiting for it, knowing it was coming, like, alright, when's it gonna happen? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, I'm actually kind of glad, well, I'm not kind of glad, I am very, very glad, that the one thing I thought they were going to do with this movie they didn't do was that all of the Justice League was going to show up at the end to take down Doomsday. I thought that was going to happen, but instead, all we got was that little kind of, like, we got teaser trailers for each individual character in the middle of the movie. It's like the movie just stopped so that we could get these little webums in.
Yeah, that bothered me.
The way that worked, no, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. Because even then, it comes across more like a commercial, like you're watching the YouTube movie that you're watching, and then you got a mid-roll cut of, hey, let's advertise to you right now while you're watching this thing already. It's like, oh, great. And then you had to sit through 3 ads.
And one of them...
I'm actually really glad, though, that they didn't all show up at the end, and it just wound up being the 3 of them fighting Doomsday, because it just would have been... That would have been way too much if, Flash shows up out of nowhere in the rubble and all this shit, and he's, like, trying to fight Doomsday, and then Aquaman just springs out of the water because they're on an island and stabs a trident in the back of fucking Doomsday, and then there's this revving up laser out of nowhere, Cyborg, and he takes a shot at fucking Doomsday.
Well, I feel like when we saw those clips of each individual one of them, man, Aquaman's was like the most awkward out of all of them. He looked really...
Yes.
He was really slowed down in the water because actually he's a human being actor portraying a man who lives in the water, and he's doing a very bad job of looking comfortable in the water. He really slowly pulls this trident arm back and then really slowly pushes it forward, and then they cut to the CG when he's just off in the water, and it just looked awful.
And then it's like, the stupid thing I felt about that was that in those cuts, like you reveal that, I didn't realize they did this. They cast Joe Morton, veteran actor Joe Morton, as Silas Stone, Cyborg's father, and I'm like, oh snap, that's really good casting. Him as Silas Stone, that's perfect. Wait, no, that's a distraction. I'm getting all of Cyborg's origin right now. Wait, what? And I had to stop myself, because that was a part that I was like, oh, that's really good. No, wait, no, you're taking away from the thing I'm actually watching. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not going to let myself do that.
You're getting to another point, is that there were, I love it when Lois Lane Jim are kind of shoved into these kind of movies. You're looking for them. Marvel does them very, very well. Like, in the original Thor, how the Infinity Gauntlet was in the background of one shot.
Right.
Yeah. It leaves you asking all kinds of questions and stuff like that. But it's not interfering with the movie. Whereas all the winks and nudges in this movie actually detracted from the main plot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They did so much setting up of future movies, and Age of Ultron did it too much. But then I saw this movie. The whole reason this movie exists is just to set up future movies. It doesn't want to be a movie itself.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, again, why we call it what we call it, not quite Justice League.
Right.
But then once you get through the whole thing, you also realize it's not just not quite Justice League, it's also not quite Dark Knight Returns, and let's be honest, not quite Death of Superman.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, at that point, it feels like cliff notes of those things. Like, Snyder was reading through the comments like, oh, yeah, this is this really cool picture I saw on Tumblr. Let's put this in the movie, all right? do you want to read the rest so that you can bring the context with that, too? No, well, we don't need to worry about that. And then that's how they made this. Mm-hmm. Or especially that's how they made the third act. But going back to
there's a big point I wanted to make, and it's slipping my mind right now. I'm sorry, because I'm just so angry.
No, I understand.
We haven't even covered a fraction of the problems I have with this movie, and we've been going at this for almost an hour now. But Josh, I'm sorry. Like I said, my mind is just so fumigated right now.
Yeah.
Back up about 2 minutes and refresh my memory about the point you were trying to make, because I had something I really wanted to say about that.
About which point?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make, is I forgot.
What was I bringing up about the fight? Because the fight only lasts.
Yeah, you did it. You already did it. Okay. This is one of the reasons why I actually don't read comic books themselves and prefer usually an adaptation of the comic book, like a movie or a cartoon show or something like that. And it's a problem I have with a lot of fiction. It unfortunately seeps into a lot of my favorite fiction, like Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, and especially a lot of these comic book stories.
Mm-hmm.
There's no weight to death, and there needs to be weight to death.
Yeah.
Because there was a really great article that I read maybe a year or two ago about how the death and return of Superman was the death of death in comic books.
Yes, that point's been made several times, yes.
Yeah, and the thing is, when a character dies, it needs to be the most horrific thing that you as a fan can go through. It needs to have weight. It needs to have gravity. And I'm going to tell you right now, they just killed the most iconic superhero in history,
mm-hmm.
and I didn't feel a goddamn thing because
Me
you
either.
killed him in only his second movie in this universe, and you know he's coming back.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that any time he just fought Doomsday. What the? You're going to go up against Darkseid now? Oh, you get killed? Guess what? You're probably coming back.
Cause
he's like, I have no reason to be intimidated by Darkseid. Now, you're okay. I'm actually going to check a little bit. You're thinking about this, Caleb, but this is one of the reasons why I like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure so much. It's because there is actual weight to death.
Yeah.
There is permadeath in that show. When a character dies, he's fucking dead.
I get that.
The only time they didn't do that, the only time that there was a resurrection in that show, honestly, it was kind of earned and it made sense within the mythology of itself. And but when it happened, because you were so used to permadeath at that point, you were heartbroken. And on top of that, because you have permadeath, because these characters, when they're dead, dead means dead, when they go up against Dio and at the end of Stardust, it's scary.
Yeah.
You actually feel intimidated. You feel the fear in these characters. They spend most of the fight running away from Dio, for God's sake, because they're trying to take him on. And it just builds the intimidation. It actually makes you fear your villain, that these characters could actually die. And they're not coming back. The entire DC universe is ruined now. It is ruined because it killed Superman in their second movie, and you know he is coming back.
Yeah, for multiple reasons, you know he's coming back. You saw, like, the levitating dirt at the end of it, so you're like,
you really had to pull a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen there. You really had to do that. You couldn't even be original about it.
And you know that Justice League is coming, so you know he's got to come back. But then on top of that, more than just knowing he's going to come back, and therefore you feel like there's no weight to his death in that regard, I also feel like Superman as a character was not better elaborated upon since Man of Steel, because we gave so much time to Batman, and Superman had to share all of this screen time with all of these other characters all fighting for screen time and character development. There was next to no character development for Superman. And I don't feel like I learned anything more about him. I don't feel like I grew to like him. I don't think he became likable. So when he died, I kind of didn't care. And I feel like the way he died was not a very good way because, you know, he goes and he jams this kryptonite staff into...
Like, let's back it up for a second. If we want to talk about really a bigger core problem, I think, with the movie, which is that it's all spectacle and there's no reasoning behind anything. There's no motivation. There's no weight. There's no heart. Take it back all the way to the friggin' Senate hearing when Superman's there and
oh my God,
Lex
hate this.
Lex sets it up to where everybody in that room is gonna die, and more than likely Superman's gonna be blamed for it. And Roger, you tell me if you had the same reaction when that bomb goes off and everybody dies. Senator Finch, Mercy, the patsy that he set up in the wheelchair. When Superman reacts to that, or Clark reacts to that, I wanted to see the same level of torment that he gave when he eventually snapped Zod's neck, but all he gives you is like, man, I left the oven on.
Yeah, it looked like he did not look like he was concerned about the death of the people in that room. He just looks more like, oh man, they set me up. I sure am inconvenienced. And then he has this conversation with Lois like, man, I guess I'm not meant to save people. Okay, bye. He doesn't look concerned about human beings at all. I don't understand.
He looks like he had a bad day at school.
Right, exactly. And it's kind of he kind of gives that same look when, because you see towards the end of the movie when Wonder Woman chops off Doomsday's hand and he grows that knife hand, and he's got Lois and he's got the kryptonite spear and he looks at him growing the knife hand and he kind of has the same look on his face like, oh, well, I know what I gotta do now. I guess I have to go get him. And then it's like, again, logic seeps in because I'm a logical person. It took 2 arms to stab him through the chest with the kryptonite spear, but then I'm like, okay, you got it through him. You can use one hand to hold it, and you can block his knife hand with your other arm because he's holding you. Like, you could do that if you chose. You don't have to get stabbed.
Well,
no, you're going to do this?
I also feel like, why didn't they just give the thing to Wonder Woman? Because she was
exactly.
She was holding her own pretty well. Superman didn't need to die.
No.
There was no reason for him to die. And
I love how also they brought in a villain that was so OP. Batman.
Wait, say that again, Roger?
I think we might have lost you for a second here. In fact, we might have lost you entirely. I'm not entirely sure.
We'll give it a second for him to get back in here. Yeah, I think we lost him.
All right, but for us to go ahead and continue our point real quick while I bring him back in. Yeah, I feel like he was bringing up a point that Superman's just so OP.
Well, no, Doomsday is so OP that it renders Batman useless, especially when he's wasted so much ammunition quite foolishly on Superman in the earlier fight. And like this is actually a point we were bringing up.
We got you back in, right, Roger?
Yeah, we're good.
This is a point that we were actually bringing up earlier because early in the movie, Lex has the kryptonite, and then Batman chooses to steal the kryptonite from him and fashion weapons. Okay, fine, that's a very Batman thing to do. I'm fine with that. But then when it comes to the point where I see him using the laser on the kryptonite, and I'm like, oh, so he's testing the kryptonite to see if Superman can melt it. That's a Batman thing to do. But no, that's not what he's doing. He's using it to whittle down this giant chunk of kryptonite into a spear, and I'm like, you're like just burning off kryptonite. This is a finite resource and you're wasting it. That is not a Batman thing to do.
Yeah.
Because every depiction I've ever seen of kryptonite, like, it's a mineral. Like, it will break under pressure. You don't have to use a laser on it.
Yeah.
Like, why did you even need to do that? Like, that was wasteful and stupid on Batman's part.
Well, Batman was pretty fucking stupid in this movie.
All things considered. Yeah, and it's the thing about it, because you go from this stupid thing that seems like a very no-duh thing for Batman to do, I don't want to waste resources making these weapons against this dude I need to take out, and then you juxtapose that with the rescue scene of Martha, which looks like it came straight out of Arkham Knight or something. Like, it almost exactly plays like you're playing Arkham Knight. Like,
it in its own way is kind of its own cool sequence to watch, but as it fits in the greater narrative, it doesn't really do that very well.
No, because, like, again, he uses the bomb from underneath. He uses his grappling hook. He uses the disruptors. He uses combat takedowns. Mm-hmm. Almost everything, like, Snyder at least had to have played some Arkham Knight, but then he thought about it, you know what would be really cool? Like, he should be shot at. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, we can get behind that. You know, he's got body armor. Fine, we can do that. Oh, and I want him to stab somebody in the heart.
Okay.
Honestly, what I was taking away from that was too much of Zack Snyder saying, I love you so much, Frank Miller. I love you. I really, really love you. Oh, my God. Look what I'm doing for you, Frank Miller. Look. You're my God, Frank Miller.
No, I got more of that from when the nuke went off in space. And the same reaction happened to Superman as in The Dark Knight Returns. Like, oh, did we have to do that? Because it wore off, like, what, a minute later when the sun shows up?
Yeah.
Like, what was even the point?
Elaborated on in a longer cut, but, like, honestly, why I thought it was the most egregious was when Batman bashed through the wall to save Martha, and then he grabs the same exact gun, the same exact M60 that he did in The Dark Knight Returns, and blasted that guy with the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That to me was too much. Like, yeah, see, Frank Miller, I'm still using your comics and storyboards. See, I love you, man.
Yeah, I get that. And then, surprisingly enough, in that scene, you get one of the two jokes in the whole movie, because let's be real, there's only two jokes coming out of Martha when he's like, I'm here to save you, I'm an acquaintance of your son. Oh, I kind of figured. The cape. And then I remember, like, you guys told a joke. Did you hurt yourself? Like, we could have used a few more of those, because, like, I was saying this for months leading up to this. If nobody at all ever makes light of these two guys in capes and underwear, nobody makes fun of that at all, even for a second. Everybody's taking this seriously.
You can't make fun of it because they even took the underwear off of fucking Superman, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Well, then they're wearing long johns. It's still underwear.
Sorry, Kellen's gonna understand this reference. You're not supposed to have fun. You're not supposed to laugh. They're trying to make you feel something.
Yeah, I understand. And then at the same time, just stupid character motivations. I have to get both. We have to talk about really both Lois, because I want to talk about Lois for a second, and then I want to move on to Lex, because he also, I feel like, is way underdeveloped.
I'm ready to get on Lex's case.
But let me just get through Lois because this is like a really short thing, I think, in comparison to talking about Lex. But with Lois, she did not know what kryptonite was. Okay?
No, she has no clue.
She maybe understood after trying to run in and be like, Martha's the name of Superman's mom, it's his mom. Maybe she has this understanding that the thing that Batman is holding is somehow doing damage to Superman. I need to throw it into this pool of water. And then...
Holy rock equals bad!
Then Doomsday happens, and then Batman's like, I need to bring her back to Gotham. And then Lois suddenly gets it into her head, I'm gonna need the glowy rock. I don't know why she thinks that, though, because she doesn't know what the glowy rock is. She doesn't know what the monster thing is. She doesn't know that kryptonite hurts things from Krypton. She doesn't know that the thing has blood that comes from Krypton. She doesn't know any of it. So why did she get the idea to go down into the water to go and grab the glowy rock and then go do the stupid thing and get herself trapped there, forcing Superman to go down there and save her and then grab it himself when she knows the glowy rock hurts him? Why didn't she then say, now that we've got the rubble out of the way, let me go down there and swim up and go get it for you, and let's figure out a way to get this to Wonder Woman because clearly this is doing something bad to you. But nobody thinks that.
Also,
why did Lois do these things?
The only thing I can draw from that is like, yeah, and then I'm gonna have Lois kind of get trapped, but then Superman has to go down and get the rod. I'm speaking as Snyder here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to have Superman go down and get the rod because I know for a fact I know who Superman is, and nobody ever in cinema before has ever had Superman trapped underwater with kryptonite.
Yeah, because Richard Donner never existed.
Yeah, because that never happened, right? And then no, but you're absolutely right. And then the whole thing again, going back to collateral damage, you realize how bad they had to shoehorn in once Doomsday actually hatches. One, he looks like an orc when he hatches. Like, get that out of the way. And then two, you have to bring in Anderson friggin' Cooper to tell me, oh, well, he's in downtown Metropolis right now, and the city should be empty at this time of day. No, that doesn't fix anything, Anderson.
So many shit I want to write about. Nobody's going to get hurt. This is all abandoned. Everybody's off of work now. Yeah, but I do want to address something that Sebastian's saying in the chat room right now about how women were treated poorly in this. I don't feel in general that women were treated poorly in this movie, but there was one scene in particular that really got on my nerves. There was a bath scene with Lois where she is completely nude, and I was not offended, but I felt it was egregious and added nothing to the plot.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
Well, yeah, because
that was strictly in there because they tease you so hard. Is there gonna be a nip flip? You guys see some poop here? They were teasing that so hard in that scene.
I admit,
and
yeah, that was...
Any emotional ground that they were trying to cover in that scene was completely negated because you were like, is there gonna be a boob? Is there gonna be a boob?
Because you got plenty of side boob.
Yeah, a little too much side boob. Like I said, I thought that editing was going to screw up there because, dear God, editing has been totally inept this entire movie, and this is only about 15 minutes in.
And then I have to think for a second, like, okay, so if we almost got that, is that something we're gonna see in the extended cut? Do we get nipple? Is that what's going on? Like, is that
what makes it rated R?
It depends on how much nipple there is, because obviously Titanic got away with it. For the most part, a female nipple will get you an R rating, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's oh my God, there's so many goddamn points I want to make about this stupid movie. Why is there an R-rated cut of a Superman movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, I like this here in the chat, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Side Boob. Because we've really had to worry about side boob in a Batman movie. I'm even having to draw back, we were talking earlier about Batman Forever. Like, admittedly, at one scene in the movie, Batman goes to Chase Meridian's house, and she's noticeably probably naked, but she's still covered up tastefully there.
Yeah.
And it was a PG-13 movie, and I didn't think it was weird, because, the way she's holding it, it was like a she almost was holding it to herself like a Greek robe or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's classy there. Whereas here, yeah, it's like, yeah, granted, you got an attractive actress to be Lois Lane, but yeah, I'm not going to be focusing on whether or not, does Clark live here with you or does he just have a key?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, well, what am I going to see? Am I going to see something? Am I going to see something?
And the thing was that was supposed to set up the emotional path for Superman in that movie. Was that conversation between the two of them while Lois was in the bathtub, and it was so sad that it was done. It was shot in a way where it was supposed to be enticing and erotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was the ultimate distraction from what they were trying to accomplish there. It didn't show vulnerability. It didn't show any kind of humanity, which I know that sometimes directors like to try to use nudity to express that.
Mm-hmm.
It was not done that way in this scene. This whole scene was set up to give guys like me and Josh a boner.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, like, you don't have to worry about that. I find Amy Adams attractive on her own, regardless of this. But here, I'm here for a specific thing. And then let's think about this for a second. On top of that, count me off here, guys, because I know you guys were with me on this. Mm-hmm. Does she only have 3 scenes with Superman in the movie? Because the bathtub, the saving there in the desert, then immediately the bathtub scene, and then she doesn't talk to him again until after the Senate hearing, right?
She kind of walks in on that newsroom meeting.
I don't count that one.
And then walks away.
I don't count that one.
And then, doesn't see him again until
Until after the explosion, right?
Yeah.
And then she doesn't see him again after the explosion until he saves her from falling off the building.
Yeah.
Like, at that point, yeah, women are being treated badly because Lois is reduced to just someone to be saved, someone to titillate you, someone to have exposition, and then somebody to tell, hey, I have to go beat up Batman now.
Yeah.
At that point...
What I want to say is that actually Travis brought up the point that I was trying to make about how directors use nudity in the chat room. I was completely not even paying attention to the chat room, so kudos to Travis for bringing that up on his own.
Yeah, but you see that, because every other woman in this movie is either already dead, needs to be going to die, or has their own movie coming out, so they've got plot armor.
Yeah.
You are already dead.
Yes.
So can we finally move on to how I do not feel like Lex Luthor is a well enough developed character?
Okay, here's my problem with Lex Luthor, and I'll start here, and you guys come in on this. I think his portrayal is not the worst thing about him. What I think it is that Eisenberg made choices, whether they're good or bad, are left up to opinion as far as a performance is concerned. I think he was a different Lex Luthor doing Lex Luthor things, but he had no Lex Luthor motivation.
The motivation is my biggest problem.
This is a point where I am actually going to have to blame either the direction of the character or the actor himself, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And this was my litmus test for this portrayal of Lex Luthor, because we all know the rumors about who was potentially going to be Lex Luthor before Jesse Eisenberg. So take all the lines that Jesse Eisenberg delivered, all the lines, all of them.
Uh-huh.
Don't change the lines, but instead we're going to change the direction and we're going to change the actor to Bryan Cranston.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. I'm sorry. I don't want to give this movie any credit. I don't want to give the writers of this movie any credit, but if that was Bryan Cranston delivering those lines with the same Eisenberg inflection...
Like, especially that one line,
God.
If man won't kill God, the devil will do it. If you hear Cranston saying that, like, oh my God.
I had somebody, there's somebody that we know who was trying to defend Lex's kind of God complex, because in the comics he's been known to have this God complex.
Yes.
Like trying to bring down Superman because he's too godly, and this is a world full of humans, tons of this exposition, and we see little seeds of him maybe trying to talk about it, and yet I do not feel like it was well enough established that that was his motivation to dislike Superman at all. I was very confused about why he disliked Superman. I was confused about why he seemed to, he found Batman to just be some kind of a tool, I guess, in this endgame that I didn't really understand. Like, part of me was wondering, okay, is his endgame to defeat Superman so that he can then say, look how much more powerful I was than Superman, and now all of this business is gonna come raking into him? Like, was it a business plan? Because he makes a ton of business plans in the beginning. In fact, some of those business plans don't even make sense, because there's is it a different senator, not the lady, but the other dude with the glasses, that is talking about, we'll give you whatever you want, and I'm like, why are you giving him whatever you want? What's he gonna do? Is he going to give you money for a future campaign or something?
Because they never
that would be a
explain
reasonable explanation, but they don't explain it, and me having to explain it for myself is a bunch of crap. And then there's that party that he's just inviting people to. What is the party? I guess it's for some library thing. It's not really well explained. Why is Clark invited to it, and why is Bruce invited to it? Inviting Bruce makes kind of sort of sense because he's got money and he wants to rub shoulders with somebody who has money, but it's still not actually explained other than, oh, we should, collaborate sometime. Let's do a crossover. But why does he know who Clark is? Because Clark is just a reporter. Why is Clark there at the party at all? And why is he like, oh, Clark Kent meets Bruce Wayne. Oh, this is awesome. And, we've all seen that because we've seen the commercials and the trailers and everything. Shake his hand. Oh, he's got a strong grip. You do not want to pick a fight with that guy. Why do you know who Clark is? And it's clear that you're delivering that line not for the sake of one another in the room, but because the audience is watching.
Well, I like this line that is getting thrown out here in the chat. I wrote this role for Heisenberg. Eisenberg? Okay, bring in the Facebook guy.
Oh my god.
I like that.
Yeah, good one, Weirdo. Good one.
I like that. But no, I think the point...
To round out that scene, too, he gives this really weird-ass speech, and he starts talking kind of sort of about gods, and I don't understand why he's doing it. We don't hear the full speech, so we can't hear what might have been the entirety of his backstory of understanding why he has this god-human complex, because maybe it was there, but we didn't get to watch it because we kept cutting away to friggin' Bruce, and then Clark listening to Bruce, and it's this really awkward speech, and then he just walks off stage, and I'm like, what did this have to do with the library? Whatever this party was. Well, I don't understand.
And again, you bring this up, and it's the one thing I can give to Snyder, the one thing in that scene of, wow, I never actually thought for a second as a comic book fan that Clark could totally just hear Alfred on Bruce's earpiece. Like, I hadn't really thought about that, but no, you're right. He could totally hear that and then deduce he was Batman. But then again, that takes weight away from... Like, I don't ever think for a second between the two of them, between Clark and Bruce, that their identities were that big of a thing, whereas in the animated series and other media, that's a huge thing about them discovering who the other person is.
I'm seeing people in the chat be like, oh, they invited Clark to be somebody to cover the event. I'm like, yeah, I understand that, but Clark is more kind of just a paper pusher, and he barely, like, we have not seen any character. This is crap character development for Clark, too, because we have not seen him grown as a character in these 18 months between Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. So, like, is he a freaking good reporter? Is he a famous reporter? Does everybody know who Clark Kent is? Does everybody want Clark Kent to come to their scene to report for them? Because if that's the case, then why does Dudeface at the Daily Planet keep shoving him onto sports stories? That's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's there covering for somebody else, but otherwise we have no context of who he is as a character.
Because the dude at the Daily Planet is like, nobody cares about... Yeah, Perry's all like, nobody cares about Clark Kent taking on the Batman, which tells me that no, Clark Kent is not an important news reporter, so why in God's name does Lex Luthor know who Clark Kent is?
Other than the fact that they allude to it later, and again, we have to make the connections there, that Lex knew even at the party that Clark was Superman and that Bruce was Batman.
And why does he know that? Why does he know that? I mean, it's somewhat reasonable because Clark doesn't do a very good job fighting his identity, and he just lets people call him Clark while he's wearing the Superman suit. But aside from that...
How did Bruce screw up big enough for Lex to just figure out, oh, you're Batman? Because he totally knows that he's Batman.
And for Lex to figure out that Superman is Clark first before Batman figured it out.
That's character assassination to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, just hearing you guys go over this, it's like I'm sorry, I'm just such a fanboy, but all this stuff Bryan Cranston of the DC Cinematic Universe. Seriously, just all these questions that you're bringing up, they would have been afterthoughts just to see Bryan Cranston act as Lex fucking Luthor. Like, I'm sorry, I'm just getting lost thinking about it, about how perfect it would have been. But DC said, no, we're gonna go with this, with Jesse Eisenberg, because I really don't know what their motivation was for that. I saw somebody in the chat room saying making him like a .com millennial, like a startup billionaire that is just like a money-grubbing little punk. I feel like that pretty much is how they portray Lex in this.
Kinda, yeah. Like, they say he comes from old money, like it's his dad's company, and his dad happens to be named Lex, but otherwise, like, other than some supplemental material, and that goes back to the whole thing of I shouldn't have to read something else when I'm watching the movie, you should be able to just show me what's going on in the movie. We don't have any sort of feel for who Lex is as even a business person.
Yeah.
We just know he has money, and we don't know what he does with his money, other than...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, we don't know what he does with his money other than use it to get kryptonite weapons and beat up Superman. Like, other than that, what does he have his money in? He had buildings destroyed in Man of Steel. I don't see him mad about that. Bruce watched his tower come down, and he's obviously mad about that, but Lex isn't. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, that would have been character development. It would have been really easy character development, and they didn't do it.
I thought another huge missed opportunity was... well, that you had a Lex Luthor with hair the entire movie.
Almost, yeah.
Why couldn't you have Superman directly responsible for him going bald?
Well, because I had heard a rumor, and I was hoping it was true, that they were kind of going to harken back to some of the older animated stuff, to where Lex was so paranoid about Superman that he was keeping a piece of kryptonite on him, and because of small levels of kryptonite radiation, that's why he lost his hair? I would have loved that.
That would have been great, but he said, no, he's going to jail, so we got to shave him bald. Which is not something that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they don't shave your head in prison.
Yeah. So you're in prison, so we're going to shave you bald. That is a horrifically terrible and inept explanation to get fucking Lex Luthor bald. How about Superman's responsible for him being bald in some way, shape, or form? Or how about he just shows up bald?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Or how about you just cast Bryan fucking Cranston?
Like, if you want to do rewrites, because I think they were trying to say that his dad is dead in this. I don't know if they directly say it.
I think so.
If they want to do...
I know where you're going with this, but I actually made this joke. Go ahead.
If they want to go ahead and say, oh, have Bryan Cranston come in, oh, my idiot son screwed up my whole empire, I guess I have to go and be more evil for him, and have him be Lex Luthor Sr., and have that be the fix, then, you know what, I would almost accept that.
No, the joke I made was, in the next movie, at the very beginning of the movie, Jesse Eisenberg just gets out of jail. He goes to the top of LexCorp. He's on the tower. He's on the helipad there. And he's thinking, wow, I really screwed up. And then the camera pans, and Bryan Cranston's just standing there, and he's the real Lex. And he's just like, you screwed up, son. And he just pushes him off the tower. And then that's it. We just completely forget about this. And it's Bryan Cranston from here on out.
It's Bryan Cranston!
I'm sorry though, but think about it. The central villain of the DC universe is Lex Luthor, okay? And there's so much about the DC universe that revolves around him. You can say anything you want about Darkseid being the ultimate evil and Joker being the best villain, but the central villain of the DC universe is Lex Luthor. And you need to make sure that he is going to be portrayed by an actor that will make you fear him. And I can't think of anybody better than Bryan Cranston to do that. I can't.
It's just the thing, like, I don't even fear him, I don't hate him, I don't feel anything towards him.
Yeah.
That was the biggest problem that I had, is that I don't feel anything towards him, especially at the end.
He was an annoying little shit.
Like, no, like, that's my insult to him. I didn't even feel annoyed by him. Like, I didn't feel...
Are you doing the red capes are coming?
No, because at that point I'm like, whatever, get on with it. Like, it blew right past me. Like, I didn't even care. And especially at the end, and maybe you could have done something different with it, and I think you do have to change the writing there, even if you want to use the Cranston excuse, for that last scene between him and Batman in the jail cell, him trying to tease Darkseid doesn't work. I felt nothing. Like, even if you're trying... I know you're trying to set up the reason for me to see the next movie, but it felt like either Eisenberg didn't read his script, or like he asked, "Hey, I read the script, but can I just wing this? Can I just go at this and try and make him scary on my own?" And Snyder was like, "Yeah, okay, go for it." And then we got that crap, like, that I don't feel scared by, like, we told everybody, ding dong, the god is dead, he's coming, he's angry, he's hungry. And I'm like, what? This is my tease for Darkseid?
And the enormous Omega symbol in the ground.
Which doesn't make any sense. And I knew that was going to be the case when they revealed to us that this was going to be a dream sequence. The whole dream that Batman has in the desert of the Omega symbol and the parademons makes absolutely no sense, because at that point in the movie, or even in this whole franchise, he has no friggin' idea what Apocalypse is, what Darkseid is, what parademons are, what the new gods are, and there's no reason for that to happen, even more so to the fact that Flash shows up after that to warn him about it.
And there's no reference to it again for the remainder of the movie until Lex is like, they're coming, they're hungry, blah blah, right at the very end. Like, it gave us
nothing.
It served no point.
Oh my god! No, Travis is right. Mayor James Keenan would be awesome as fucking Lex Luthor. Holy shit!
Who?
Mayor James Keenan from Tool.
Oh.
Huh. No, and seriously, if you ever watched Mr. Show, there's a comedy sketch where he plays Satan. Actually, this guy, Travis has a point. That would actually kind of work.
Yeah.
Okay, you just have to be a Tool fan to see it. Honestly, you just have to be a Tool fan.
Admittedly, I'm not the biggest Tool fan.
But Ice Cube is Lex Luthor? No, Ice Cube would not.
No, but at this point, but you see what I'm saying? They're trying to tease something, and it didn't work. Especially when you write in lines like the Flash trying to tell him, like, I was starting to feel something for the Flash showing up, but one, I know he wasn't wearing a costume, like you digitally put a mask on him.
Yeah.
And so that's just Ezra Miller in a green suit. Like, don't even start going back to some Green Lantern crap. Put that guy in a costume, for starters. And then he's there trying to give this, like, this warning. You have to find us. Lois Lane is the key to it all. You were right about him the whole time. You've always been right. And then he has to backtrack and say, wait a minute. Am I too early? Oh, I'm too early. And I'm just there sitting in the audience saying out loud, yep, you sure are.
Like, the whole thing didn't make any sense. There was no point.
Yeah.
The dream sequence within a dream sequence, just kind of that, and like 4 dream sequences. And again, if we go back to Superman being up on that mountain, why was he there? Like, obviously he went to run away. We knew he ran away for some small length of time. Was he really there? I think he was, but I don't understand why he felt like he needed to dress up in hiking gear and cold gear, unless it was to look more inconspicuous, I suppose. But then seeing his dad there, it's not explained whether that's a hallucination or a dream, or he really is there and it's trying to give us some sort of afterlife message adding to
No,
this.
I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that per se. I think, again, going into the meta thing, I see that scene, and especially going back to the conversation Superman has with Wonder Woman about, oh, this isn't real. It doesn't mean anything. My planet said this was just a farmer's dream. And I'm like, wait. Whose dream are we talking about here? Because I remember that last movie. Nothing gave you any proper humanity or motivation in the last movie, so I know you're not talking about your dad. I know you're not trying to do that. And Snyder, I'm looking back through the camera to him looking through the camera on the other side saying, Snyder, I know you're not trying to convince me or pull the wool over this audience that Jonathan Kent was anything but a terrible parent, and then to have that dream sequence come up and try to have him talk about what it was like to be, think he's a hero and not be a hero. I'm like, no, I see what you're trying to do. This is damage control. This isn't character development. This is damage control for what you screwed up with in the last movie.
Yeah.
Podcast Batman should be written out of existence the way it was portrayed in Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And even then, I'm like, wow, Kevin Costner, like, I thought they wrote you out by killing you in the last... No, they're doubling down. They brought you back. I can't believe it. I cannot friggin' believe it.
I don't know what else we can elaborate on.
There's a million more things I could go on about with this goddamn thing. Like, for example, the guy, the amputee in the movie that wound up just basically being a plot device. They started calling him Wally. I thought for a second, Wally West. Wait a minute, you're cutting his legs off? It wound up being Wally, different last names. I'm like,
yeah, he's just some guy.
Yeah, he's just some guy. But they, what's your name? Wally, my name's Wally. Oh my God! Seriously, for a second, I thought they were going to go that this is Flash right here, right at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. But the guy wound up having a different last name. He wasn't Wally West. But for a second there, I thought they were going to do that. But still, with as much Easter eggs as there were in this movie, why did you name a side character Wally?
Yeah.
Seriously, you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were goddamn doing. And do we know if this Flash is Barry Allen or Wally West?
They've confirmed it's Barry Allen.
Okay. You have a perfectly good TV show, Barry Allen.
I can't tell you how many times I've had this discussion with everybody about this. Snyder went on record as saying, look, I get that, DC TV is doing perfectly good things, but that Flash doesn't fit with our movie aesthetic, and we've already committed to the multiverse argument, so no, that's a different Flash on a different universe. This is going to be our Flash in our universe. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, you're shooting yourself in the foot there, not connecting them. You are so hard shooting yourself in the foot because Grant Gustin is doing such great work on that show with that character and has been doing so for 2 years now. Snyder should consider it an honor to even be able to ask him, hey, can you be here and help my movie?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to prefer Ring versus Grudge over Batman v Superman? I'm going to be honest. I have never seen a single Ju-On or Ring movie ever. I haven't. I like Japanese horror. Just never really interested me.
I've watched them, but yeah, they don't interest me much either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they to me, they all of them, as far as I know, kind of a lot of very, very similar tropes. A lot of jump cutting, a lot of creepy little girls with movements and such. It's not my cup of tea. Like I kind of my idea of horror is a little bit different. First of all, my favorite horror movie of all time is Alien. But some people don't understand it when I say I also think another one of the scariest movies of all time is Enemy of the State.
And
honestly, because of how realistic that is, it wound up kind of sort of being proven to be true thanks to Edward Snowden, and I don't mean to make this political, but, certain things scare me more than, that Japanese kind of horror. I understand what they're trying to tap into with this, but I like horror that either fucks with my mind on a how should I put it? I'm not gonna say that Alien is cerebral. I'm carnal.
A visceral level.
A visceral level or a realistic level.
Mm-hmm.
Like Enemy of the State presented a scenario that is realistically scary and is proven to be a realistic scenario 15 years after the movie was made. Whereas Alien, I can't tell you how many times during the course of my life I've had nightmares that were inspired by that fucking movie. Even though the alien creature itself is just so overdone and out there in the media at this point that it's basically like wearing a hockey mask in Halloween or something like that. On Halloween, kids go out with hockey masks.
Yeah.
It's that overdone. The very nature of those creatures just scares me to death. And the idea of those things existing and the things that they do in those movies is just horrific. And I'm a defender of Prometheus. I love Prometheus, and I'm really glad that it's getting its sequel before. I'm this, but I am not all about Alien 5. I am not all about Alien 5. I'm more about Prometheus 2, which is Alien Paradise Lost or something like that.
See, that I can't follow you on with that, but to take it back to just the idea of being able to be afraid of something. One, I was never afraid of Lex's plan. Two, I'm never afraid of Doomsday. And then three, if you want to talk about a enterprising, bald villain, Vincent D'Onofrio already has the market cornered on that. In spades.
Yeah.
Good point, good point.
So, like, again, I'm wondering if it's that same sort of stupid mindset, that childish mindset that DC and Warner Brothers Entertainment have of, well, Marvel, they made money and they used a good actor who would commit to being bald and his plan makes sense, but they did it, so we're not gonna do that. So we're gonna make him a younger actor with hair and his plan won't make sense. Yeah, and then we'll make money that way. Like they're trying so hard to be the anti-Marvel that they're just being idiotic. That's the feeling I get from it.
Yeah.
But honestly, Marvel is just doing such a great job with the tone of their movies, and that's what
their TV.
Their TV. Honestly, I'm not too much of a fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, okay, I should be more specific. They're Netflix.
Okay, Jessica Jones and Daredevil are masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
They are both masterpieces. They are expertly crafted. They are so well done. And the acting in these actors absolutely embody their characters. They are those characters. That's how good they are. They are just as much their characters as Christopher Reeve in Superman. So
yes.
Josh, you were absolutely right.
Yes. And then when it comes down to that, like, I'm willing to, like, I gave most of the cast the benefit of the doubt, for this movie when everybody was casted. Like, I don't think, like, again, going back to it, I don't think Ben was a bad choice for Batman. I just think he needed a better script. I think Henry Cavill was screwed over from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, I don't feel enough for her because she didn't have enough screen time. I think Jeremy Irons, I should say, was perfectly serviceable as Alfred. I didn't have a single problem with his Alfred. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't get why you have to make this big distinction in supplementary material that, oh, he's not Bruce Wayne's butler anymore because butlers aren't cool. He's his bodyguard. Like, no, man. If
he was his bodyguard, why didn't he go with him to that party?
Exactly, because then you bring that on yourself. Like, oh, you want to give him a cool title, but then not let him do the thing that title entails?
He is the butler. He is the butler.
And then
Jarvis into an AI, I'll buy that, but Alfred Pennyworth is a butler.
Yes, he will butler the ever-loving hell out of you, and you will enjoy every second of it. That's who that character is.
Yeah.
But he is also a surrogate father.
And also a surrogate father, yeah, as he's supposed to be. And for the most part, I don't think, like, I think he just got lucky as far as a character is concerned. Like, they were so focused on screwing everybody else up that Alfred got a pass. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about that.
Well, Jeremy Irons, I thought, as soon as I heard that he was going to be Alfred, I saw infinite potential in that, and I wasn't let down, but at the same time I feel that they could do a lot more. But then again, he did get the only chuckle out of me in the whole movie. And to be honest, I kind of vaguely only remember the joke. It was when, I think it was when Alfred was on the intercom with Bruce in the party.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I vaguely remember the joke. Also, I remember was that involved alcohol and Alfred was drinking.
Oh yeah, like, it was something like it was like in your dreams or something like that, and then he takes a swig.
Yeah, it was just the way he looked at the glass and delivered the line. I was like, no, that was the best the movie did out of me. Because I guarantee you, as grim as Civil War is going to be, there's going to be moments where you go like, oh, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
No, they've even said, like, they haven't even told us the jokes. They're telling us ahead of time, no, there's going to be certain points with these characters where you're going to laugh. And I'm like, you know what? I know you don't have to tell me more than that, and thank you for the heads up, but I'm still going to go in there and be like, because they know there needs to be levity to make you feel more of the heavy moments. Mm-hmm. There's that ebb and flow to a script, not everything's on a downward spiral and we're going in circles into the deep waters of, oh, this is just a toilet, isn't it?
Well, that was my prime problem with how the DC Universe has portrayed itself right now. I think Suicide Squad's going to start to get away from it, but there's just no joy in Man of Steel or Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
There's no fun. And comic book movies can be grim, they can be dark, but even The Crow had a sense of fun about it.
Yeah. Like that's the thing about it. Like, when you get to that point where you know you're supposed to feel something, and you know dang well what they were going for. They were going for the feeling that every single theater goer got back in all those years ago with Avengers, when you see all 6 of them together for the first time, and you get that giant cheer out of the audience that we've been waiting our whole lives to see this.
Nobody cheered for this 3-person team up. Because, you know, these people were not working as a unit. They didn't know each other or trust each other.
Oh my god. You just reminded me. Okay, the whole theater had absolutely no joy in this movie whatsoever. It was the polar opposite experience from what I had with Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was so pathetic. There was like one girl up front. And you could tell that she just wanted that emotional reaction when Wonder Woman finally jumped on screen. And she did, and when Wonder Woman, blocks that blast with the shield, this girl, she started doing it, but nobody followed her on it. No, and it was just, I felt so bad for her.
That is sad.
There were people when the credits rolled. We had, of course, a full theater. It was the very first showing of the night, and there were a couple of little. Just the tiniest bit of applause, but it was only a couple of people, and it never went up to that full swell of, yeah, we really liked this. Like, people applauded at the end of Star Wars, they applaud at the end of all these Marvel movies, and of course the person, the angry person inside myself is like, who are you applauding? Nobody can hear you! But at the same time, it shows that those people had a really good time, and there was an atmosphere and an energy about the room, but this movie theater did not have that.
Because we talked about this while we were there at the theater. There was 2 things that we brought up specifically from our experience. One was that when we were getting the trailers, you could hear the buzz in the room when the Civil War trailer came on.
Yeah.
And then throughout the whole movie, there wasn't a single woo or yeah or like it was just dead silent. And then the second.
Excuse me one moment, sir. I just wanted to address the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Chat, I know you want to stay, but don't worry. Kayla's going to be uploading this to her channel here, the Full Talk Show, after she uploads the more candid response that her and Josh made on the vlog. But you won't be able to see the rest of this show. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anybody else that needs to call it a night because it's getting a little bit late. But I talking about this movie, I can keep going.
And the other funny thing, and it has nothing to do with the movie, is the fact that when we got to the theater, number 1 person in line was this guy who had already pulled together a full Ben Affleck Batman costume, and I guess had his son with him as Damian Wayne. Like, they were there at the front of the friggin' line for the first showing, and I'm like, well, dang, he pulled that together quick, and that is a really good costume. And then at the very beginning of the movie, in that first scene with the flashback dream sequence, all 3 of us in our row, because he sat right behind Kaylin in the theater.
Oh, the Batman did, yeah.
Yeah, and we just wanted to turn around to him and be like, dude, I am so sorry that you have to see this again.
What I thought was funny, too, was that standing in line, almost everybody was dressed up with Batman attire on. It was Josh, me, and Greg all had 3 different kinds of Batman shirts on. There are all these other people with Batman shirts, 1 Wonder Woman shirt and 1 Superman shirt, and then there was 1 guy with a shirt that had both Batman and Superman on
the Jim Lee art on it. But otherwise, the bulk of people were there for Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same thing in my theater. Everybody had the 1989 Batman symbol shirt on.
That's what I had.
Honestly, for me, because I went to the second round of showings, it was the most surreal experience sitting there, watching people come out of the theaters, and every single person But then this mother and daughter come walking out of the theater, and the daughter was like, "That was pretty good. What did you think?" And then the mother just had this frowning look on her face and didn't even answer. She was like going through her purse. She did not. She was so angry. The mother was just not feeling it at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was sitting there because a couple of groups had like that one guy that goes to the bathroom after the movie was over, and just hearing their discussions about the movie was the most surreal thing, because most of the time after I come out, after I see people coming out of a movie or something like that, there's usually some very very positive discussion. This was the first time that I was going to see a movie where it was just constantly being panned. Everybody coming out of it was just had nothing positive to say about it. I heard one guy say, I was only 15 minutes into the movie before I wanted to eat a bowl, and I was so bored.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, admittedly, we've only had one or two minor people around us give it a positive review. And it's the thing about it, why I went back to saying that at the very beginning of when we started talking tonight, is that most of the people that are here trying to praise the movie are praising a movie they didn't see.
Yeah.
Because all the things they're talking about, I didn't see on the screen. Like, oh, it was great character development. What character development? There was no character development. There was great action. What great action? Even from a choreography standpoint, it was crap.
I just wish we could bring those people on here, just to get like some kind of debate going, because honestly, I have not heard anybody I know personally praise this movie in any way.
The people that I know who have praised this movie also praise a lot of movies that I do not agree with the praise, and then also crap on a lot of the movies that I think were great. So these are people that completely do not share my perspective on anything at all whatsoever.
Yeah.
You're friends with a bunch of contrarians, then.
Yeah, I guess so.
It kind of seems that way sometimes.
Everybody hates this movie, I'm gonna love it, because I'm a hipster like this.
I guess. But even then, I'm like, pick your battles, man. Pick your battles.
My God, you guys remember that second trailer that revealed Doomsday? It was like the worst trailer. That,
yeah.
It was like the one where everybody was like, "What are you doing?" I remember, I forget what movie we were going to see, but it was only like a couple of weeks after that trailer came out. We were going to see a movie in IMAX. I completely forget what it was. I remember that trailer came up, and I was just rolling my eyes, because the pain was so fresh, seeing like Doomsday hop onto the screen like he does, and literally, like, I'm trying to pass the aggressive like these movies, so like literally, like, even at the Ghostbusters trailer, I was like, boo. I even put in a no pun intended. Like, I did the same thing when that trailer came up, so like after Doomsday jumps up and you see the glory shot of the three of them, like, boo. But then like there was a woman about a row in front of me that was like clapping and cheering, and I'm like, oh, alright, you get your enjoyment out of it. But my friend who I was with had to be that dickhead, and he leaned over and was like, what are you cheering about? And she was like, well, why wouldn't I cheer? It's Batman and Superman. Okay, I think that kind of sums up the only reason why people would like this movie, just because those two characters are in this.
And that's pretty much what they're banking on.
So for some reason, people are reporting that you are beginning to echo, which is weird because nothing has changed.
Nothing.
Yeah, I have not done anything different about the stream. So
you have become a new god of rage.
So I don't know if I need to just turn down our speakers. Maybe I don't know.
I'm on Bluetooth right now. Let me just try restarting my Bluetooth real quick. Go Bluetooth for a second.
All right.
Okay. But I think just to kind of maybe round this out, because we've been going for almost 2 hours now. Is to think about, well, because this is the question my brother asked me right after I got out of the movie yesterday, is what does this say for the future of DC and Warner Brothers once all of the recoil comes back all of the venom comes out, that, oh, it just wasn't the advanced critics, it was a good chunk of everybody saying, you guys really screwed the pooch on this. Will it, in fact, finally send them the message, no, you don't get it.
Yeah.
You messed up. Stop. Will they finally learn from this?
Not if it makes enough money, no, because it means that, well, it doesn't matter what we do, even if we screw it up, people are going to want to come see it just to see how badly we screwed it up, and we'll make bank. So, no, this will not teach them anything if it makes them enough money.
Well, see, the question is, like, how much money is it going to take out of their pockets? Because, again, I always bring up the example of Ang Lee's Hulk. Number one in its first weekend. Second weekend dropped by 70% because of word of mouth and reviews coming in saying it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And it was. But that's the thing. It doesn't always tell the story. One weekend does not prove everything. Not anymore. Now you have to look at it from the long game perspective. And I've heard the tale being told that when it comes to this, that they're looking to track, specifically what they're looking to track is, again, versus Marvel, they have to make Avengers numbers. They have to make $1 billion within a certain time frame. If they don't do that, they will in fact consider it a commercial failure. Especially considering all of the money they poured into this, not just to make the movie, but also for the merchandising, for all of the advertising, for all of the...
Warner Brothers is banking a next 10 years on this cinematic universe. They really are banking on this movie to set this up, and they are putting untold amount of effort into making this the next thing. And if this movie fails to make that $1 billion, their heads are going to roll in those offices. So Josh is absolutely right. There is a lot of business behind this movie, and if it does not perform to expectations, people are losing their jobs.
Yeah, and I don't get it. For some reason, we're still getting people saying you're echoing, and I'm still so confused about that because nothing about my setup has changed. Or somebody else is saying that you're calling in from the 1940s. Like, I don't know what has changed now.
Admittedly, he sounds low on our
Yeah,
end.
you sound a little more quiet, but I still hear you, but you're not unintelligible, so I don't know. Like, I can turn your volume up, that's fine, but if the problem is echo, maybe the problem isn't echo now. Maybe if I turn it up again, then...
Yeah, check 1, 2.
Yeah, like, I hear you okay. I don't know what's different, quite frankly.
Are you double looping my audio somehow?
No. The only thing that would be double looping, like, it's picking up all the audio from the PC, and it might only double loop because of the microphone, but up until now, that apparently has not been a problem. So, I don't know what has happened.
And the way you guys are hearing me sounds completely fine, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For the most part.
Alright, let's, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to turn off my Bluetooth and go over my headset. Hold on.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, nobody else started complaining or anything or commenting.
And,
Oh, you sound a lot clearer now.
Yeah, now you're clear suddenly.
Oh, what the hell? Check 1, 2.
Hi.
Fans, can you guys hear me okay? Check.
Yeah, you're like super clear now. Like, I heard a difference.
So now the question is whether or not it's going to be echoey, because I only heard like the one person say, now he is. Oh, there we go, bingo. Yeah, okay.
Alright, I guess something happened with my Bluetooth then.
Okay.
That's alright, as long as we figured out a way to fix it.
Okay, we seem to have got it back. Okay, but yeah, bringing it back to this, so, aside from heads rolling, they've already they pretty much bet the farm on this succeeding, and whether or not it's going to track to $1 billion, I don't know, like,
I think it has a shot. I think this movie's going to do a lot better internationally than it is domestically, especially in China. Because it hits all the notes that the international market likes. Because honestly, the international market really does like the more bullheaded American movies more than like because Dark Knight did not actually perform well in some countries, and this isn't speaking down to other audiences or anything. It's just numbers. But the Dark Knight was a little too intellectual
for some audiences, and so therefore it did not perform as well going up against a movie like Transformers, because
Right.
Well, not Dark of the Moon, the one that everybody really hates, second one.
Yeah.
What Transformers 2, what was it called that?
Revenge of the Fallen, was that it?
Yeah,
I didn't see 2 or 4, so I don't know.
Well, 2 actually had a good Linkin Park song in it, but the point is that, you know, internationally, the Transformers movies, not only do they do well domestically, but they make like double their money internationally.
Yeah.
And, you know, these are market trends that never ever used to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But they love just things that are more straightforward. I guess, you know, maybe that translates better in other cultures if it's more spectacle than anything else. You know, maybe people just want to actually just watch something instead of be lectured to. I can't really speak for specific demographics, but usually these are the kind of movies that perform very, very well internationally. So as much as I don't like the movie, it still has a very, very good shot of performing very, very well internationally, making $1 billion.
Right.
I still think that I think it's going to make about $400 million here in the U.S. when they were banking on it being a $600 million. I think it's going to be close to a $400 million, because I think it's going to do close to $200 million this weekend. I think it will do close to $200 million.
Because I know they were tracking at least minimum 150, and that I think you and I had that conversation back in MagFest that was a given.
Yeah, it's a given that it's gonna be above 140. It's definitely gonna be above 140.
Mm-hmm.
But whether how close it gets to 200, honestly, I would love to see the traffic patterns from Thursday to Sunday. I would love to see how sales go during that span of time, because you brought up the Hulk as an example. I'd like to bring up what is it, that Will Smith movie? Was it After Earth?
After Earth, yeah.
Yeah, because it opened on a Friday and it was the #1 movie in the country, but word spread so hard about it that by the time Saturday came around, it sank to #3.
Mm-hmm.
And then it went down to it stayed at #3, or it went to #4 by Sunday, and it wound up having a terrible opening weekend based on that first day.
Yeah.
So I would like to see what the market trends are, but I think it making $140 million opening weekend is a given, just on the name of the movie.
I think so too, yeah.
So, but I do think it has a shot at because of the international market. It's going to do very, very well in China. It's going to do very well in Japan. It should do well in Europe. I think that international market trends will lean it towards making $1 billion, or at least coming very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to get close. They want to shotgun past $1 billion international. So if they don't, like I said, people are going to be losing their jobs. And since Wonder Woman's already in development, I think that they might do a soft reboot of the cinematic universe after Wonder Woman.
God, that would be too soon. I mean, it's too soon, but I agree.
Every studio right now wants their cinematic universe. You know, fucking Paramount's going after the Hasbro cinematic universe.
Which is the dumbest thing they could freaking do, because it's not an actual universe that pre-exists. Like, they're trying to force a universe to happen doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, we're clearly seeing that right now. Marvel took the time, they started all those years ago, and slowly build it up, and the closest you get to any sort of reboot because of a problem they have is a recast with Mark Ruffalo in and throwing out Ed Norton,
mm-hmm.
which I still disagree with, because I really like Ed Norton's Bruce Banner over Mark Ruffalo's, but even then, that was just a small thing that they fixed, and the plan still held together, whereas here, you pretty much have to throw out the baby, the bathwater, the tub, and the whole house.
Or even, what is Nicolas Cage?
Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider. First one being super atrocious, second one not being good, but its direction is just this completely and utterly different ride.
Yeah.
Entirely. And at least you can look at it like, that sure was strange and amusing, but, I mean, you're not walking away from it like it's good, but they were like, well, let's keep one element of it and then just forget everything we did before, try something entirely new, and kind of call it a sequel. Kind of like, shoot, Mad Max.
And that's where I see them taking the cinematic universe if this one's taken, because Incredible Hulk was pretty much that. It was a soft reboot. It kind of sort of pretended that Hulk already happened, but it kind of sort of didn't.
Yeah.
And just going back real quick, Josh, you do know the reasoning why they recast Edward Norton, right?
No, I do know the reasoning.
Okay.
It's just personal preference. I liked him in the role.
Yeah, but that was pretty much what Incredible Hulk was. It was a soft reboot. It could be seen as a sequel, but it could also not be seen as a sequel. But that's what I see them doing with the cinematic universe. If it's the way it's currently being helmed by Zack Snyder, winds up being a commercial failure, and because it's already a critical failure. But to be 100% honest, Warner Bros. Doesn't care about that. They only care about the almighty dollar.
Yes.
So, but like I said, you have every studio out there trying to make their own cinematic universe right now. They were trying to make a cinematic universe around Ghostbusters for a hot minute there. They are doing it with Hasbro. There was talk of another cinematic universe that I forget. It wasn't revolving around Huntsman. There was talk of another one. I forget what it is.
The Universal Studios monster movies.
Yes.
Yeah,
and how are you gonna do that? Like,
well, because the thing
here's the other thing. Like, when the way Marvel did it is that you didn't even realize that they were building a cinematic universe at that point, because each Marvel movie that was out at that point kind of existed on their own. And there was a lot of Marvel movies up until Iron Man came out. You didn't realize that they were starting to try to build a cinematic universe. Really, you didn't really start to feel the weight of it until Thor and Captain America both came out that one summer.
Yeah.
That was when you really started to feel, okay, wait, this whole Avengers thing is really going to happen here. Okay. And then you got that teaser at the end of the first Avenger, where you're like, oh my God, this is really happening this summer! Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, who remembers the excitement they felt when they saw Sam Jackson at the end of Iron Man?
Yeah.
Seriously, because everybody was saying, stay for the post-credit scene, there's a post-credit scene, and you just hear Sam Jackson, and then you see him walk out. I'd like to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
Which reminds me, did you have this issue? Like, we stayed till the end of the credits for Batman v Superman, and everyone was just groaning at the end of it because there was no end credits teaser for anything, and somebody's like, really? Oh, lame! People are just making these audible noises, like they sat there the whole time. Like, these are comic book movie fans who've hi. Oh, hi there. Hi. These are comic book movie fans who've kind of been conditioned to sit through all of these credits, and pretty much the entirety of the theater actually did it without...
Which doesn't happen in a Marvel movie, oddly enough.
Yeah, because Marvel movies, I don't know why people get up and leave, because they traditionally have stuff both in mid-credits and at end credits.
And even then, right now, we know pretty much for certain that Civil War's got, like, what, 3 credit scenes?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh my God, this is the payoff. This is the luxury box. I don't mind paying for this. Whereas here, it's like, it's not so much that they were sitting there because they're conditioned. It felt more like, in our theater, like, no, you better give me something else because I don't feel like I got my money's worth. There needs to be something else here to try and make up for my dissatisfaction that I'm feeling right now.
And there wasn't, and everybody in the theater was just so disappointed.
Yeah.
I didn't even bother staying, because if there was a post-credit scene, I didn't give a fuck.
That, and I guess we should have figured, we would have heard about it by now, that there at least was one.
Yeah.
But we didn't,
I don't understand how there could be a post-credit scene, because there was nothing but building with that movie. There was nothing but future universe building with that movie. There was nothing more they could add, really.
Really, at that point, you have to kind of view this... It's kind of funny that we throw around the term commercial failure, because the reason this movie will fail was because it was a giant commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually is a pretty good point. But even with, I can't remember, like, refresh my memory, but with Age of Ultron, if I remember right, there was no post-credit scene with that, because he spent, like, half the movie insinuating that Infinity War's coming.
No, we did get something at the end. We get Thanos saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was like a mid-credit scene, wasn't it?
Was it mid-credits, or was it, like, completely post-credits? I don't remember.
No, I think it was mid. It's mid, right after that whole montage
Either
of
way,
them.
there was something to wait for a
At
second.
least there was something in there. So it wasn't, like, completely barren.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks is that post-credit scene told you right there, well, Vision's not surviving this.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, fine, but at least we know we're gonna have him for a while. See, that I don't fear so much, because we know he's not gonna really show up until Infinity War, and that adds some weight, because that means we're gonna get even more attached to Vision until the time when we're actually gonna have to deal with, okay, what happens when Thanos wants his gem back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, see, that's building. Because you know something's coming, but it's so far away that it's like, oh, that means I'm just going to get more and more attached to this character, and then when it happens, oh no! And that's what it's supposed to feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it's like, well, I have to fight this thing that I just learned exists. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to stab it and potentially get stabbed. I kind of resigned myself to that. Bye, Lois. And then...
It just sucks, because Vision stole every scene that he was in Age of Ultron.
And apparently he's going to kind of do the same thing in the scenes he's in for Civil War, from what I'm told.
Oh, man. Yeah, Vision was great in Ultron. He was fucking great. And the idea that, he's not going to survive that long in Infinity War is kind of like, oh, man, can't he at least get a standalone movie, man? I still want my Budapest movie.
Yeah, I still want that. I still very much want that. I don't know why they haven't given us that. Shoot, do that as a Netflix one-off. Do it as a mini-series, just 6 episodes. Give me 6 episodes of Budapest. That's all I want.
But, I think I know why that didn't actually take off. Because the second Thor movie kind of underperformed, and it was almost promoted as a Loki movie.
Yeah.
And it did okay. It didn't tank or anything. It did okay. It made its money back in a bit of profit. And to me, at least, it was a much better movie than the first Thor movie. Because with me, the first Thor movie, it felt like Kenneth Branagh really wanted to do all the stuff on Asgard, but then once the movie got to Earth, it was just like he didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I think it would have been better, actually, if it had stayed on Asgard, but I think as a kind of a sticking point, it's like, okay, we're letting you direct the movie, we like your direction, but as a caveat, you have to put one of the last battles on Earth. Like, we kind of need that. And I get it, it's an anchor.
But I sincerely did feel that Dark Tomorrow was a much better Thor movie, and it really, really played into the relationship between Thor and Loki very, very well. I mean, that was the central point of the movie. But I know that Marvel was banking on, after the huge explosion of popularity Loki got after Avengers, they were banking on that to be a $250 million domestic. And it didn't make that. Instead, out of nowhere comes Captain America with the Winter Soldier and just blows it out of the water. And not only blows that out of the water, blows Iron Man 3 out of the water. Except for in terms of money, because Iron Man 3 made $1 billion by itself. But what is the Phase 2 movie that everybody remembers besides Guardians? Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Yep. It's Winter Soldier and Guardians. And they were, I know the studio was not expecting Winter Soldier to be as successful as it was. So that it kind of told them a little something that I think that's why they're taking more of a gamble on Civil War, and we're not getting that Budapest movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they were considering it, but they wanted to see how the fan base would react to getting what they wanted. They wanted more Loki. We're going to give them more Loki. Okay, it only made about 150 million domestic. Wait, what did Dark Tomorrow make domestic? Hold on, let me look it up on Box Office Mojo. Bring this up here. I'm on my iPad. Because if I remember right, it made just short of 200 million domestic, which is a disappointment.
Yeah. I think what's going to happen as far as let's talk damage control then. If after this weekend the numbers start to tank.
Superman takes in 27.7 million from Thursday previews. Wow, that's actually pretty impressive.
See that I don't really. I'm not shocked by that because that was just solely on the name alone that was going to get that.
Yeah.
Like they've got however many 75 years worth of history banking on seeing these people on screen. That was going to get them their 27 million easy. That's
okay. I was wrong. Actually, Dark Tomorrow did 206 million domestic.
Wait, which one did?
Dark Tomorrow.
Dark Tomorrow. Or Dark World.
Dark World.
Yeah. But Dark World did do 206 million domestic. That is over 20 million better than the previous film did. So that actually is an improvement. But I know that they were banking on it to be at least a 250 million domestic because of the increased emphasis on Loki after the explosion of popularity that he got after Avengers. And then once they saw that, they were like, okay, maybe we shouldn't really give too much credence to these fan reactions and stuff. And then Winter Soldier wound up being such a huge box office hit. And I think critically, we could look this up to see if I'm wrong, but I think critically, Winter Soldier is the highest scoring movie.
I think that's accurate. I'll go ahead and look that up real quick.
Alright, we've almost been talking for the length of Batman v Superman.
Yeah, then Captain America wound up making 260 million domestic. And 95 million opening weekend, which is pretty damn good.
Well, at least Rotten Tomatoes wise, it's 89%. Audience 92, so that's pretty close to one another right there. That everybody was fairly in agreement on Winter Soldier.
Yeah, it did make almost $1 billion worldwide. It made 714 million worldwide. Whereas Thor, what did Thor make worldwide?
Avengers is 92.
Yeah, Thor only made 644 million worldwide. And that was with the increased emphasis on Loki.
I think what's going to happen is, as far as this weekend is concerned, going into next, I think what we're going to see is they've already got their ads ready for go see the #1 movie in the country. Because they'll get to say that for one weekend, and then you will immediately see the commercials all switch to nothing but Batman footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To confuse people into thinking, oh, well, he's the only one in the commercials, so he's got to be in the movie a lot, right?
Yeah.
To try and trick people. And I think because of the backlash, because so many people are going to want to wash this taste out of their mouth, that's just going to bolster Civil War's numbers.
Yeah, Civil War is going to make all kinds of fucking bank. Civil War is looking at a 175 million opening weekend easily, I think. Basically because it is the Avengers movie that people really, really want. Honestly, I thought that Infinity War, when they were first setting up the cinematic universe, I thought Infinity War was going to be Avengers 2, and then Civil War was going to be Avengers 3. But instead, they're making this ballsy move of making Civil War the start of Phase 3 instead of the end of Phase 3. And I can't wait to see it, honestly, because the Russos, they know what they're doing.
Yes.
They know what they're doing, dear God. I mean, I can't tell you how much of a fan I was of Winter Soldier when I sat down to see it. I didn't know what to expect. I knew that I was expecting something more along the lines of the Bourne Identity, but I wasn't expecting something that good.
Yes.
I was expecting a good movie, but what I got was something incredible. And the fact that they're back to do Civil War and then later Infinity War, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in very, very, very good hands.
Whereas here, like, most people are assuming that DC's cinematic universe is on the brink of collapse from this.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on how much money it makes.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, too.
A nearly $30 million Thursday is nothing to bat an eyelash at. I mean, that's really, really good. I think it is on track to get close to that $200 million opening weekend. It's definitely not going to beat Star Wars.
No.
It's definitely not going to beat Star Wars. But it might be Jurassic World.
I think it'll beat Jurassic World.
Entirely possible.
I think it's got a bit of more wide appeal as far as that's concerned.
The only question is, though, I want to see the Friday totals and then the Saturday totals just to kind of get a gauge, because if you see a dramatic drop between Friday and Saturday, that's...
I think you're going to see a critical drop between Friday and Saturday as far as, like, you know, online sites are concerned, but I think the numbers are going to go up because, again, we have to think about the fan base here, not just being comic book fans, but the kids who are going to go see this movie and want their parents to go take them on Saturday when they don't have school.
Mm-hmm.
That will drive it up for that first weekend.
Holiday weekend. I forgot that this was a holiday weekend.
Yeah, and it's Easter weekend. Like,
yeah.
People are out and about right now.
Yeah.
And if things are closed on Sunday, where you're going to go to the one place that's open, the movies.
That's certainly going to help my big fat Greek wedding, too.
Yay!
Well, even then, it's like, you poor schmucks. What did you think was going to happen? It's like, what is it, that Tina Fey movie, Sisters? Like, what did you guys think was going to happen opening against Star Wars?
I thought the Chipmunks movie opened against Star Wars.
They both did. They both did.
Wow. Okay, that explains a lot.
Like, both of them, it's like, what did you think was...
The Chipmunks movie wanted to make money.
Yeah, weird, right?
Well, they say that it's the Mummy effect, because the Mummy came out like a weekend or two before Phantom Menace, but because Phantom Menace had so much overflow from sellouts that people wound up going to see the Mummy instead, and the Mummy wound up making bank against the biggest movie of the year.
Kind of a trickle-down economic sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
My big fat Greek Batman 2, Dawn of Justice. Chipmunks, however, screw them. They should drown. I'll be honest. I haven't brought myself to watch a single Chipmunks movie.
No, I can't.
Same. I can't do it. There is only one Chipmunks movie, and it is the Chipmunks movie. Thank you and good night on that.
I will say this though, because the third movie finally came out after years and years and years of trying to get it funded. He finally got it funded. But to psych myself up for seeing the new movie, I was watching my favorite childhood movie ever, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, right before we started this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the new Pee-wee movie is finally out, and it's weird because just to draw some parallels here, like I was watching the movie, I was watching Pee-wee, and I'm like, wow, I have not seen this movie in 25 years, but every single line, every single musical note in this is just so ingrained in my memory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie is just so iconic to me personally. I love this movie inside and out. And I haven't seen this movie in so long, yet I still am recalling every single portion of it like I just saw it yesterday. And I feel like that is going to be something that people are going to be able to do with a lot of these Marvel movies if they're just being born within the last 5 or 10 years. They're going to find one of these characters that they can just emotionally attach to, and that is going to be their childhood memory. Whereas I don't see that happening with the DC characters right now.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just don't see that. I don't see them. I don't see the children of America feeling inspired by the current incarnations of Batman and Superman. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I completely understand that.
I think with some kids, because I'm trying to remember, okay, there'll be enough kids that see what they want to see out of the movie, and then, like so many of us, growing up, they'll go back, look at it, and realize, man, they really didn't give me much in that movie, did they? But it's that realization that comes from experience and time to realize how shallow this attempt at growing a universe actually is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, there is a similar effect here where, it's a mixed bag for me to go back to 1989 Batman. It is, because on some merits it's a very, very good film, but on other merits, I think Tim Burton said it best. I never read a fucking comic book in my life, and it shows when you watch 1989 Batman and Batman Returns, because there's just so many egregious errors in Batman mythology in those movies, and it can be a little bit difficult to stomach once you really get involved with Batman. But as pieces of cinema by themselves, they kind of work. They still kind of work. But since I've grown to be such a Batman fan, and even though the Batman animated series did spawn out of those two movies, it's really difficult for me to go back to it. Mm-hmm. Even though it is an iconic part of my childhood, because I've grown as a Batman fan and as a superhero fan, it's difficult for me to go back to that. And I think it might be the same thing for people that might be 7 or 8 years old right now watching Batman v Superman. They might really, really like it right now, but then they're going to grow up and they're not going to look back on it as fondly. Just like I can't do that with 1999 Batman.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And like. No, I got nothing to add to that. Yeah, basically, I'm just backing you up on this.
Yeah.
I think we're starting to feel the burnout, and now we definitely have been talking as long as the movie.
Just about as long as the movie is.
And honestly, I do enjoy this discussion, but I guess most of your audience doesn't know this, but I'm actually on top of many other things that my organization does. We are also club promoters, and we organize club parties, and we have one such club party tomorrow. And when we have these parties, it is an all-day affair for me. And over here on the East Coast, it is 2:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
I probably should get some sleep.
All right. Yeah, I guess we should do the same thing then.
Yeah.
And glad that you were able to hang out with us, and thank you so much for talking with us about this, because, man, we could probably keep going if we really wanted to. And maybe we'll do it sometime later.
Does anybody want to make any closing points or anything?
I think it really did take me the rest of the day today to process my feelings about the movie, because I had to come to terms with catching myself wanting to defend a movie I didn't watch.
Yeah. And
the thing about it is, much like you, Roger, I grew up, Batman was my first hero too. I grew up and Batman the Animated Series and 60s Adam West Batman were my meat and potatoes. And so I grew attached to them. I grew attached to the DC Animated Universe. And yeah, for so many years, I wanted this movie to take place, if only to, lead to eventual Justice League outings. But I want those things, and I can say as an adult, I still want those things, but not at this cost.
Yeah.
Not at what they gave me. I'm not going to defend something I didn't see. I'm not going to settle for less. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tell my manager tomorrow, who will probably freak out like, you didn't like it? No, I didn't.
And then for me, I feel like I liked a lot of these characters before in the past, although I'm not as large of a comic book fan as many other people. I do like the characters, however, from time to time. But in that regard, I had to come in it more as looking at it from a cinematic perspective and a general storytelling perspective, even if you don't know the depth of all of these characters from previous ways they have been written over this last century. And I feel like as a cinematic property, it did not do its job. It was not well edited. Fight sequences were not as well choreographed as they could have been, and character development, even if they were deciding to take these characters into brand new and different directions, they did not do a good enough job. They did not give these characters enough time to actually become full-fledged characters, and motivations did not make sense. So even if I was coming into it not knowing who these characters were, and if they were trying to build them as completely new characters separate from what you've seen in previous movies or comic books, it still didn't do its job.
Well, this weekend, America gets to see a self-righteous American icon fight an egotistical billionaire. And then in a month, they get to see a self-righteous American icon fight a egotistical billionaire. I think I'm gonna put my money on the one that's coming up in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my closing statement.
I'll agree to that, and I second that statement.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me on. Honestly, I am going to say I am kind of honored that you guys let me be a part of this, because this you guys have been building up this moment so much on your podcasts over the years. Constantly covering the disaster that this movie was going to be. We all knew it was going to be a terrible train wreck. But I'm very, very thankful that you guys invited me on to have this open debate with you guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't think there was much of a debate to be had, quite honestly.
I think, we are kind of all on the same page. I think tonight was more therapy.
Maybe so,
therapy.
Yeah. Anger management.
But hopefully the audience also got something out of our banter. It seemed like most of them were in agreement with us. I was able to check in on the chat room on occasion. I really did enjoy what you guys had to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a little bit of a hiatus right now, but it was nice to come out of it just for a brief moment. Just to rant about a shitty movie. Because honestly, that's kind of why most of us got into this whole entertainment industry thing, or and wannabe entertainment industry, I should say, because we love these movies, we love this culture that exists around nerdom, and we just want to be able to enjoy it and express it, even in the down moments like this. We just want to be able to express our thoughts and our feelings to anybody that cares, and being able to do that with friends and people that I've never met before is a gift. And moments like these kind of make our lives go round.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm glad we were able to talk about this. I hope we are able to do it for more movies in the future. And yeah, looking forward to Civil War. That's for sure.
I'll take one last thing from the chat to round it out. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Just Save Your Money.
Kudos to whoever said that.
Good job on that, Travis. All right, so thank you guys for being with us for this less structured but still just as angry look into this movie. Hopefully you will listen and change your weekend plans accordingly.
Yeah.
So for all of us here over on YouTube, thank you for listening, and for God's sake, think about what you're going to watch this weekend.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, you guys have a
good night.